In less than 2 hours, Qingyun fell from the #1 position of the inner sect and was smashed into pieces. From this day forth, the inner sect of the academy would undergo a complete change. The soul-searching art was over and Qingyun's essence spirit was dim. His life force was weak and he did not have long to live. In his final period of lucidity, he saw his former followers pointing and cursing at him. Not far away, Sword Immortal Yue Hua's face was cold. Everything crushed him completely. Cracks appeared on Qingyun's essence spirit. Right in front of everyone, his soul dispersed and he died. The massive square was silent. Many disciples of the academy lamented internally. Who would have thought that a conflict between Dao servants would end up in such a state for Qingyun, who was #1 of the inner sect and predicted to be ranked 10 on the heaven ranking prediction? Elder Chen composed himself and coughed gently to attract everyone's attention before saying, "All right, this matter is over. Disciples, please disperse." "Hold on." Right then, Sword Immortal Yue Hua suddenly spoke. Many academy disciples could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat when they realized that Sword Immortal Yue Hua had an unfriendly expression. Was there going to be a further development to this episode? That was not impossible. It was no secret that Qingyun was a follower of Sword Immortal Yue Hua. Sword Immortal Yue Hua said coldly, "Qingyun joined forces with outsiders and harmed his fellow sect mates. It's only right for him to be killed." At that point, he paused for a moment and changed the topic. However, just because Qingyun was a sinner of the academy does not mean that others can muddle through and escape punishment from the academy as well. Senior brother Yue Hua, you seem to be implying something. Who are you referring to? Is there a need to ask? It must be senior brother Yang Ruoxu. The two of them have been on bad terms for many years because of senior sister Mo Qing. Don't you know? Some disciples of the academy discussed softly. Elder Chen was on the verge of tears as he lamented internally. He truly could not interfere in the conflicts between legacy disciples. Although they were all perfected immortals, he was already in his twilight years and any legacy disciple's combat strength was above his. Yang Ruoxu looked at Sword Immortal Yue Hua with a calm expression. "Senior brother Yue Hua, let's not beat around the bush. Who are you referring to? Why don't you say it?" "Junior brother Yang, there's no need to be nervous." Sword Immortal Yue Hua smiled indifferently. "I'm not referring to you but Su Zimo." Yang Ruoxu frowned slightly. Initially, he thought that Sword Immortal Yue Hua was going to make things difficult for him. However, he was forthcoming and had never done anything shameful. Naturally, he was not afraid of anything. He had not expected Sword Immortal Yue Hua to change directions and target Su Zimo instead. The disciples of the academy were at a loss as well, not understanding what Sword Immortal Yue Hua meant. Su Zimo raised his head slightly and looked at Sword Immortal Yue Hua, saying indifferently, "Yue Hua, there's no need to beat around the bush. Muddle through. You can just say what you mean." "Su Zimo, even at this point, you're still pretending." Shaoli hollered, "You've long betrayed Heaven and Earth Academy and joined the Fiend Domain." The moment he said that, the entire place fell into an uproar. Such a crime was extremely serious and was definitely not inferior to Qingyun's actions. Betraying the sect and joining the Fiend Domain. No matter which immortal sect or immortal kingdom in the Nine Firmament immortal domain it was, they would definitely be cleaned up and killed on the spot if they were discovered. Chapter 2481. 2481 Failure of Yue Hua. 2481 Failure of Yue Hua. Yang Ruoxu frowned when he heard that and said in a deep voice, "Senior brother Shao, betraying the sect to join the Fiend Domain is a grave crime. You can't spout nonsense like that." "Since I dare to say it, I naturally have absolute confidence." Shaoli sneered and glared at Su Zimo shouting, "Su Zimo, tell me, where did your Dao child come from?" "What are you trying to say?" Su Zimo asked expressionlessly. When he saw Su Zimo's reaction, Shaoli was relieved. "It's fine even if you don't say it, I'll tell everyone. The Dao child beside you is the Dao child of the sect master of the Fiend Domain's Tianhuang sect. He's the Dao child of Desolate Marshal." Su Zimo was expressionless. At that time, Langfeng City was in chaos and many perfected immortals were only concerned about escaping from the pursuit of the martial Dao prime body. It was impossible for anyone to see him return with Tao Yao. Xiao Li's words did not cause much of a reaction in the crowd. Most of the academy disciples were confused. How was this child named Tao Yao related to Desolate Marshal of the Fiend Domain? When Xiao Li saw that no one had any reaction, he explained hurriedly. The Battle of Langfeng City in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain happened because a Dao child of Desolate Marshal was captured. At that time, Su Zimo happened to appear in Langfeng City. Before this, Su Zimo had never had a servant by his side. However, after he returned, he had a Dao child by his side. Therefore, this Tao Yao is the Dao child of the Fiend Domain's Desolate Marshal. Many academy disciples rolled their eyes in disapproval. Everyone thought that Xiao Li was so confident because he had strong evidence. To think that he would forcefully combine the two matters and come to a conclusion that was filled with nonsense. A disciple of the academy whispered, Desolate Marshal of the Fiend Domain went on a massacre in Langfeng City to save his Dao child. But in the end, he left happily and abandoned his Dao child there? Perhaps Desolate Marshal's memory isn't good and he forgot that he was there to save someone. That was how senior brother Su managed to pick up this kid. Another person chimed in. A few cultivators at the side could not help but laugh. A disciple of the academy pouted. If Tao Yao is truly Desolate Marshal's Dao child, why hasn't Desolate Marshal done anything after so many years? Another person added, given the character of Desolate Marshal from the Fiend Domain, if he knew about this, shouldn't he have charged into our Divine Firmament Immortal Domain like a mad dog? Most importantly, if he's Desolate Marshal's Dao child, why would Tao Yao be willing to stay by senior brother Su's side? Could he have been moved by senior brother Su? Someone else could not help but laugh. The cultivators at the side suppressed their laughter and their faces flushed red. To everyone, Xiao Li's speculation was a joke. Su Zimo smiled without saying anything. When he saw the reactions of the many disciples of the academy, Xiao Li panicked and looked awkward. He knew that there were many loopholes in this matter. However, since he had already decided to target Su Zimo, he could only grit his teeth and continue, everyone, I'm not done yet. The fact that Su Zimo was able to return alive after that tragic battle in Langfeng City is strange to begin with. In reality, most of the people who died in Langfeng City were perfected immortal experts. There were almost no casualties among the other innocent people. Without waiting for everyone to react, Xiao Li continued hurriedly, there's only a single possibility. Su Zimo has already submitted to Desolate Marshal and became a chess piece that Desolate Marshal buried in our academy. That's the reason why Su Zimo brought Desolate Marshal's Dao child back. This time round, before everyone from the academy could speak, Elder Chen could not take it anymore. Elder Chen coughed gently. Xiao Li, do you have any evidence? If not, I think everyone should. To Elder Chen, Xiao Li's guess was way too ridiculous. Xiao Li was stumped by Elder Chen and was helpless. Instinctively, he looked at Sword Immortal Yue Hua beside him. You want evidence? Easy. Sword Immortal Yue Hua smirked and swept his gaze across Tao Yao. A hint of cruelty flashed through the depths of his eyes as he moved without warning. Su Zimo's expression changed. Sword Immortal Yue Hua's attack this time round was not targeted at him. Therefore, there was no reaction from his spirit perception. It was too fast. Sword Immortal Yue Hua's target was Tao Yao. A top-tier perfected immortal like Sword Immortal Yue Hua attacked a heaven immortal. Without the help of his spirit perception, Su Zimo could not react at all. He pulled Tao Yao hurriedly and wanted to dodge to the side. Unfortunately, he was still a step too late. Buzz! Sword Immortal Yue Hua arrived beside Tao Yao and reached out to grab the ladder. However, right then, a change happened. The badge on Tao Yao's waist suddenly shone with a strange light that protected him. Sword Immortal Yue Hua felt a sharp pain in his palm and could not touch Tao Yao. With that slight delay, Su Zimo seized the opportunity to pull Tao Yao to retreat. At the same time, Yang Ruoxu descended as well. Wielding the righteousness sword, he was righteous and his gaze was sharp as he blocked Sword Immortal Yue Hua in front of him. Sword Immortal Yue Hua frowned slightly. He had failed. The light that the Dao child emitted earlier on could defend against the power of a perfected immortal. Crack, crack, crack. Right then, Cracks appeared on the badge on Tao Yao's waist and its glow dimmed. Although the badge blocked Sword Immortal Yue Hua's attack, it could not withstand his power and was crippled. "Yue Hua, what are you doing?" Yang Ruoxu questioned loudly. "It's nothing." Sword Immortal Yue Hua had an indifferent expression as he waved his palm and said casually, "Since everyone wants evidence, I wanted to imitate Su Zimo and search that Dao child's soul." "You want to search the soul of an innocent person just because of your wild guesses?" Yang Ruoxu glared at him. Scram! Sword Immortal Yue Hua's expression turned cold. "I'm the leader of the Legacy Disciples. How dare you try and stop me from searching the soul of a Dao child?" Yang Ruoxu did not retreat at all and asked, "What will you do if there's no evidence after the soul-searching art?" "If there's nothing, so be it. It just means that I was in the wrong." Sword Immortal Yue Hua sneered. "Why? Do you want me to pay with my life for a low-life Dao child? Even if I kill him, the disciplinary elder won't say anything, let alone the fact that I merely intended to search his soul." As the leader of the Legacy Disciples, Sword Immortal Yue Hua's power and status far surpassed others. Indeed, no one would stop him from dealing with a Dao child. In the blink of an eye, the situation had developed to such an extent where two Legacy Disciples were in a standoff with daggers drawn. "Tao Tao, where are you?" Right then, a call sounded from afar. It was pleasant and gentle with a hint of anxiety. Everyone looked over. In midair far away, a plain-robed woman was flying over. Many cultivators merely glanced at her from afar, and their eyes lit up. They could not shift their gazes away and were stunned. Chapter 2482. 2482 Misunderstanding. 2482 Misunderstanding. The woman was unfamiliar. Although she was dressed in plain clothes, she seemed to be a belle of the universe. She exuded an elegant and noble aura. A gentle breeze blew past and the woman's clothes fluttered, revealing a slender and graceful figure that made one's heart skip a beat. Although there were many female cultivators in the academy, they were instantly disadvantaged compared to this plain-robed woman. Even Yan Bingying, who was known as the #1 beauty of the inner sect, paled in comparison to this woman. "There's such a woman in the divine firmament immortal domain? I'm afraid only senior sister Mo Qing of the Legacy Ground can be compared to her." Many disciples of the academy felt emotional when they saw the plain-robed woman. Someone sighed. "Everyone says that the 4 great fairies are peerless beauties. Apart from senior sister Mo Qing, we've never seen the other 3 before. However, I think that the 3 great fairies will only live up to their reputation if they can compare to this fellow Taoist." As everyone lamented, the woman seemed to have noticed the crowd and walked over. Although there were many disciples of the academy present, there were not many who could recognize the woman. Sword Immortal Yue Hua was one of them who could. "Book Immortal Yun Zhu." Sword Immortal Yue Hua frowned slightly and murmured, "What is she doing here?" "Senior brother Yue Hua, what did you just say?" Xiao Li's heart skipped a beat and his pitch rose unconsciously as he asked hurriedly, "Book Immortal? One of the 4 great fairies?" Not many people heard what Sword Immortal Yue Hua said. However, everyone in the academy heard Xiao Li's shout clearly. The crowd exploded instantly, creating a huge commotion. This plain-robed woman was one of the 4 great fairies, the Book Immortal. What sort of characters were the 4 great fairies? Many disciples of the academy had never even seen painting Immortal Mo Qing before, let alone the other 3 great fairies. To think that everyone would get a chance to meet another of the 4 great fairies today. Book Immortal Yun Zhu. Sword Immortal Yue Hua ignored Xiao Li and revealed a smile instead. He walked towards Yun Zhu and cupped his fists. "So, it's Fairy Yun Zhu. Why didn't you inform me beforehand so that I could welcome you personally?" Among the disciples of the academy present, Sword Immortal Yue Hua was probably the only one who could speak to Book Immortal Yun Zhu. For example, although Yang Ruoxu and Xiao Li were also perfected immortals, they were not famous and their combat strength could not be ranked alongside the top perfected immortals. Furthermore, the 2 of them had never seen Book Immortal Yun Zhu before and did not have any relationship with her. Yun Zhu did not exchange pleasantries with Sword Immortal Yue Hua. Seemingly anxious, she went straight to the point. "Fellow Taoist Yue Hua, have you seen Tao Tao?" "Tao Tao." Sword Immortal Yue Hua's eyelids twitched when he heard that. feeling that something was amiss. However, he could not react in time and asked in a deep voice, "Fairy Yunju, don't be anxious. Who is this Tao Tao you're referring to, and what does this person look like?" Yunju said, "He's my Dao child. He's around 8 or 9 years old and his name is Tao Yao." The smile on Sword Immortal Yue Hua's face froze and his head buzzed, turning chaotic. Yunju's Dao child, Tao Tao, was Tao Yao. This was a coincidence, right? The crowd in the square gradually quietened down as well. Countless gazes shifted to the fair-faced boy beside Su Zimo. "Princess, I am here," Tao Yao shouted timidly. Although the voice was weak, Yunju heard it clearly. She turned around hurriedly and only heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Tao Yao was safe and sound before smiling. Sword Immortal Yue Hua had an awkward expression as he coughed gently. "Fairy Yunju, I think there might be some misunderstanding." When Yunju saw Tao Yao, she was overjoyed. As though she had not heard what Sword Immortal Yue Hua said, she arrived beside Tao Yao in a flash. "Who bullied you?" Yunju asked with a frown. Her gaze landed on the shattered badge on Tao Yao's waist. Her expression darkened as she said coldly, "Who shattered the badge I gave you?" Everyone present could sense the anger in Book Immortal Yunju's heart. Furthermore, everyone could tell that the Dao child named Tao Yao was clearly someone close to Book Immortal Yunju and had nothing to do with Desolate Marshal of the Fiend Domain. Many Academy disciples snickered internally with gloating expressions. Everyone looked at Sword Immortal Yue Hua with pity in their eyes, waiting to see how he would end up. Upon hearing Yunju's question, Tao Yao pouted and blinked his big watery eyes. He extended her hand and pointed at Sword Immortal Yue Hua. "It's him." Yunju swept her gaze. I didn't." Sword Immortal Yue Hua explained hurriedly. "Fairy Yunju, I truly didn't know that he was your Dao child. It's all a misunderstanding." Yunju removed the badge on Tao Yao's waist and injected true essence. Although the badge was shattered, the word Zhub still appeared faintly on it. "Misunderstanding? Look carefully, this is my personal badge." Yunju said coldly, "If Tao Tao isn't my Dao child, whose Dao child is he?" "Princess." Tao Yao had an aggrieved expression as he shook Yunju's arm gently and said with tears in his eyes, "That person earlier on said that I'm a Dao child of Desolate Marshal. He even said that I'm from the Fiend Domain and called me a lowlife." "Tao Tao, don't cry. Be good." Yunju squatted down hurriedly and held Tao Yao's tender cheeks with both hands, comforting him gently. Tao Yao was not tainted by karma and blood. His aura was pure and anyone who saw him would have a good impression of him. Furthermore, he looked obedient and innocent. His aggrieved appearance instantly aroused the sympathy of many cultivators. Everyone was indifferent to Sword Immortal Yue Hua's accusation of Tao Yao to begin with. After Yunju appeared, it confirmed everyone's judgment. Everyone felt a sense of pity when they saw Tao Yao's pitiful appearance. Even Elder Chen shook his head gently with a pained expression and sighed. "Sigh, what a good child. He must have suffered immense grievances to be bullied to such an extent." Princess Scarlet Rainbow and Lu Ping stood at the side with widened eyes, stunned. Although the two of them did not know Tao Yao's true background, they knew that he was not Yunju's Dao child. But now, both of them almost believed the acting of this adult and child. "He's changed. He's changed." Lu Ping looked at Tao Yao and murmured softly, as though he was now knowing the latter for the first time. Su Zimo was dumbfounded as well. When he saw Yunju appear, he instantly understood her intentions. Therefore, he was relieved and did not say anything, letting her handle the matter. However, he had not expected Yunju to do such a thing with Tao Yao. Yunju was carefree and liked to play occasionally. Tao Yao was such an obedient child. To think that he would act as well and even cooperate rather well. Yunju stood up and looked at Sword Immortal Yue Hua with a cold gaze. "Yue Hua, tell me, when did my Dao child become someone of Desolate Marshal and join the Fiend Domain?" "I." Sword Immortal Yue Hua was stunned on the spot and looked slightly embarrassed. In his panic, he broke out in sweat. Chapter 2483. 2483 Summoned by the Sect Master. 2483 Summoned by the Sect Master. Sword Immortal Yue Hua had never dreamed that such a huge misunderstanding would happen in an initially foolproof situation. If the other party was anyone else, it would have been fine. He could not even be bothered to explain. However, the person before him was one of the four great fairies, the Book Immortal after all. Furthermore, she was a princess of the Zixuan Immortal Kingdom. More importantly, he was indeed in the wrong for this matter. If word of this were to spread, it would not be good for his reputation either. When Xueqi saw Sword Immortal Yue Hua's terrible expression, he stood out hurriedly and tried to smooth things over. It's mainly because Tao Yao was by Su Zimo's side that there was such a misunderstanding. Pardon me for asking, Fairy Yun Zhu, why is your Tao child in Heaven and Earth Academy? Xueqi was still puzzled. I heard that Su Zimo of your academy obtained a variant immortal peach tree, so I asked Tao Tao to come over and cultivate with the help of that variant immortal seedling. Is there a problem? Yun Zhu had an indifferent expression and had long prepared an excuse. There's no problem. Xueqi smiled embarrassedly. Yun Zhu surveyed her surroundings and sneered. I don't understand. My Tao child is only a low-level heaven immortal and has never offended anyone. Why would Heaven and Earth Academy mobilize such a large force and even invite a perfected immortal to attack him? Sword Immortal Yue Hua's heart sank. If word were to spread that Heaven and Earth Academy bullied the Tao child of Book Immortal Yun Zhu, it would probably attract countless criticism. Sword Immortal Yue Hua said in a deep voice, this has nothing to do with the academy. Oh! Before Sword Immortal Yue Hua could finish, Yun Zhu interrupted him and asked, in that case, it was your idea. Sword Immortal Yue Hua had a terrible expression. After a moment of silence, he turned around and raised his palm, slapping Xueqi viciously. Xueqi, how many times have I told you that fellow sect mates have to trust one another? Sword Immortal Yue Hua hollered, don't spout nonsense without evidence. That slap came without any warning and Xueqi was caught off guard, receiving a solid smack. Sword Immortal Yue Hua glared at Xueqi and said coldly, this mistake that you made, this joke that you've caused, settle it on your own. Xueqi was enraged and his lungs were about to explode. Right from the beginning, this was Sword Immortal Yue Hua's idea. Now he was the one blamed for it. Furthermore, Sword Immortal Yue Hua was clearly the one who attacked the Tao child earlier on. What did it have to do with him? However, when Xueqi saw Sword Immortal Yue Hua's cold and warning gaze, a chill ran down his spine and his anger was extinguished rapidly. Lowering his head, Xueqi came before Yun Zhu and bowed. Fellow Taoist Yun Zhu, I'm sorry. It's my fault this time round. Please forgive me. Fellow Taoist Yun Zhu. Yun Zhu sneered. She quit while she was ahead and did not continue pursuing the matter. This was Heaven and Earth Academy after all, and she could not appear too domineering. She had to know her limits. If she did not give in and was overbearing, things might backfire instead. Right then, a crack appeared in midair. An old man appeared with a pale expression and a sinister gaze. He exuded an aura that prevented strangers from approaching and was shuddering. Only Immortal King experts could tear through the void. Elder 2 of the Academy was in charge of discipline, and was the most cold-blooded. Greetings, Elder 2. Sword Immortal Yue Hua and the other disciples of the Academy bowed when they saw who it was. Yun Zhu's expression turned solemn as she cupped her fists towards Elder 2 of the Academy. Greetings, Senior. Elder 2 nodded slightly and shifted his gaze to Xueqi, Sword Immortal Yue Hua and the others. He said coldly, the Sect Master already knows about what happened today and instructed me to say a few words. First, Qingyun colluded with outsiders and harmed his fellow sect mates. He deserved to die. Second, Xueqi slandered his fellow sect mate. He is not allowed to receive any cultivation resources of the Academy, browse through the cultivation techniques and secret skills of the Academy, or take a single step out of the Academy for the next 10,000 years. Xueqi did not dare to protest and merely listened with his head lowered. Third, Yue Hua shall head back to reflect in seclusion. He is not allowed to exit seclusion before the Divine Firmament Immortal meet. When they heard that, many Academy disciples sighed and looked at Sword Immortal Yue Hua with conflicted gazes. The words of the Sect Master of the Academy could be considered as a conclusion for today's matter. Not only was Qingyun dead, his reputation was ruined as well. No one was surprised that the academy would deal with Xiao Li. However, no one expected Sword Immortal Yue Hua, a legacy disciple of the sect master of the academy and the #1 perfected immortal of the academy, to be punished as well. Although it was not serious, Yue Hua was embarrassed in front of everyone. Sword Immortal Yue Hua glanced at Su Zimo expressionlessly and turned to leave without saying anything. That gaze contained too many emotions. There was hatred, threat, warning and killing intent. Su Zimo knew in his heart that Sword Immortal Yue Hua would definitely not let things go after suffering such a huge loss. If there was an opportunity, Sword Immortal Yue Hua would definitely attack him once more. However, Su Zimo was fearless. Indeed, his current strength was inferior to Sword Immortal Yue Hua. However, as long as he was given time and space to grow, given his cultivation speed, he would be able to surpass Sword Immortal Yue Hua before long. Furthermore, even if Sword Immortal Yue Hua did not look for him, he would take revenge on the latter. Back on the Dragon Abyss Star, he nearly died at the hands of Sword Immortal Yue Hua. He had not forgotten about that. Elder Tu surveyed his surroundings and looked at the disciples of the academy around him, saying in a deep voice, "Nobody is to spread word of today's matter, especially about Qingyun. Don't wash your dirty linen in public. That's the way it should be," Elder Chen added hurriedly. Qingyun was originally the #1 of the inner sect of the academy, and was ranked 10 on the heaven ranking prediction. In the end, he colluded with outsiders and harmed his fellow sect mates. This was the greatest scandal in the academy in recent years. If news of this were to spread, it would indeed affect the reputation of the academy. Yunju smirked and did not agree with Elder Tu's thoughts. With so many people witnessing this, it was impossible to hide it. As time passed, all sorts of rumors would naturally spread. Elder Tu looked at Su Zimo and his expression softened slightly. "Su Zimo, settle the matters here before heading to the Heaven and Earth Palace. The sect master wishes to see you." "The sect master wants to see me?" Su Zimo was surprised and asked, "Elder Tu, may I ask why the sect master summoned me?" "I'm not sure. Go to the Heaven and Earth Palace and ask him yourself," Elder Tu said and turned to leave. "I'm leaving too." Yunju glanced at Su Zimo and held Tao Yao's palm, saying in a seemingly casual manner, "Princess Yunju, take care. I'll send you off." Su Zimo advanced and sped into the distance with Yunju and Tao Yao, disappearing from everyone's line of sight before long. A disciple of the academy looked at Su Zimo's back view and lamented. Qingyun prides himself on being unparalleled in strategy and planning. However, he's still far inferior compared to senior brother Su's methods. That's right. Senior brother Su is the best example of someone who can turn the tides of things with a flip of his hand. He killed the #1 of the inner sect and embarrassed Sword Immortal Yue Hua. Yet, he managed to escape unscathed. Such methods are admirable. I wonder what's his relationship with Book Immortal Yunju. With the departure of Su Zimo and the others, everyone dispersed one after another. However, the discussions about today's matter would continue for a long time in the academy. In the secret pavilion of the academy, Old Xian's gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the boundless space and see the entire process. A conflicted expression appeared in his eyes. After a long silence, he closed his eyes once more. Chapter 2484. 2484 Abnormality. 2484 Abnormality. Su Zimo, Yunju and Tao Yao traveled through the skies of the academy. After a while, when they saw that there was no one around, their speed gradually slowed down. Su Zimo said, "Thank you, Yunju." This time round, Yunju's appearance not only helped him resolve a crisis, her badge even saved Tao Yao's life twice. "It's nothing." Yunju shook her head gently and said with a smile, "However, in order to make things seem more realistic, I have to get Tao Yao to stay at my place for a few days. Thereafter, I'll have him go look for you." "All right." Su Zimo nodded. Pausing for a moment, Su Zimo was curious and could not help but ask, "How did you expect that someone would make an issue out of Tao Yao's identity and give him a badge in advance?" "That's right, Princess. You're so smart." Tao Yao praised sincerely as well. "I'm not that amazing. I'm not like the sect master of the academy." Yunju smiled and looked at Su Zimo deeply with a smile. Back then, The personal badge I gave Tao Yao was also a last-minute thought. However, the main reason was to repay you for saving my life and rope in the legendary fiend, Desolate Marshal, at the same time. However, I didn't expect this badge to be of use later on. Su Zimo smiled. No matter what, it's lucky that I had your help this time round. The three of them chatted the entire way and before long, they arrived near the main hall of the Academy's teleportation formation. That's enough. Yunju said, go on back. The sect master of the Academy must have summoned you for something. There's no need to send me off. All right. Su Zimo cupped his fists in farewell and sped in the direction of the legacy ground of the Academy towards the Heaven and Earth Palace. Yunju held Tao Yao's hand and entered the teleportation formation. They returned to the Zixuan Immortal Kingdom and traveled all the way back to the library. A maidservant at the entrance came forward and said, Princess, you're finally back. Young Prince Yunting is looking for you everywhere. It seems like something big has happened and he's upstairs right now. What can happen to him? There's no need to make a fuss. Yunju knew her younger brother way too well. With a calm expression, she said casually as she went upstairs. He must have broken through in his cultivation realm and cultivated to become a grade 9 heaven immortal. He's probably here to show off to me. In the blink of an eye, Yunju had already arrived at the top floor of the library with Tao Yao. When Yunting saw Yunju's figure, he stood up from the ground and approached her. Patting his chest, he said proudly, Sister, it's still 1,000 years away from the divine firmament immortal meet. However, I've already cultivated to become a grade 9 heaven immortal. Tao Yao pursed his lips and snickered at the side. Recognizing Tao Yao's identity, Yunting straightened his face and frowned. Why is it you again? Why are you always coming to my sister's side instead of staying by Su Zimo's side properly? I brought him here. It's none of your business. Yunju said and pushed Yunting away. She held Tao Yao's hand and returned to her study. Yunting followed hurriedly with a stern expression. He glared at Tao Yao and asked fiercely, What were you laughing at just now? Were you mocking me? Could your master's cultivation speed be faster than mine? He's not. Tao Yao shook his head but was not afraid. Young master is only a grade 6 heaven immortal. Weak. Yunting pouted and sneered in disdain. Yunju glanced at Yunting and reminded, Little brother, don't underestimate him. As a grade 6 heaven immortal, he's already ranked 17 on the heaven ranking prediction. So, Yunting saw the update for the heaven ranking prediction as well but was not surprised. I've already cultivated to become a grade 9 heaven immortal. Once the heaven ranking prediction refreshes, I'll replace Qingyun and become the top of the heaven ranking prediction. Yunju said, anything can happen in the next 1,000 years. Furthermore, even if you fight Su Zimo now, the outcome will still be unpredictable. Sister. Yunting could not help but grumble. Why are you always dealing blows to me and flattering Su Zimo instead? If I didn't know better, I would have thought that you were his biological sister. Humph. Yunju sneered, that's a blow to you? I haven't even said anything to truly hurt you. If Yunting knew that the greatest opponent he viewed in his life was merely a clone of the other party, it would probably traumatize him for the rest of his life. Yunju seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked, Right, Absolute Thunder City was destroyed and Yuanzhua died. How did the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom react? There's not much activity from them. Yunting shrugged. Yunju frowned in deep thought. Princess, is there anything wrong? Tao Yao asked softly when he saw Yunju's strange expression. Yunju said deeply, Your young master killed a prince of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom, hundreds of heaven immortals and burned a city to the ground. That's almost a declaration of war. Even if the other party is wary of the power of Heaven and Earth Academy, someone should stand out and speak up. They shouldn't be so calm. This is a little unusual. Yunting said casually, Yuanzhua has long lost his power. If he dies, so be it. I don't think anyone cares. Yunju said, No matter how pathetic Yuanzhua is, the bloodline of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom's royal family flows through his body. How can he be killed by outsiders casually? Yunting chuckled. Perhaps the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom is plotting an even greater counterattack, the kind that can kill with a single strike. It's like the calm before a storm. Is that so? Yunzhu fell into deep thought. After a while, Yunzhu looked up and saw that Yun Ting was still there. She waved her hand and said, "Go back and cultivate. There's still 1,000 years left. Don't slack off." Yun Ting was speechless. When he cultivated to become a grade 9 heaven immortal, the first thing he did was to look for Yunzhu, hoping to receive some encouragement. In the end, he was snubbed. He came in high spirits but returned in disappointment. "She's my biological sister. Why is she always speaking up for outsiders?" Humph. Yun Ting left the library while muttering. Before long, his heart skipped a beat and his eyes widened as a possibility crossed his mind. Could it be? That's impossible, right? Yun Ting clenched his fists unconsciously with a conflicted expression. Heaven and Earth Academy. Su Zimo followed a map of the academy and finally arrived at the most mysterious place within, the Heaven and Earth Palace. The Heaven and Earth Palace was located in the depths of the academy. There had always been a saying in the academy that without the permission of the sect master, even if someone came here, they would not be able to see the Heaven and Earth Palace. Su Zimo looked at the palace not far away and narrowed his eyes slightly. Compared to the other halls and structures in the academy, this palace seemed simple and plain. However, the palace sat at the front, as though it formed an indescribable mysterious aura with the world, the surrounding wind and the white clouds in the skies. The palace seemed to be located in a strange space that resembled an array formation or a restriction. However, it was definitely not those two. The white clouds in the skies suddenly descended, forming a cloud bridge that led to the entrance of the palace. "Zimo, come in." The sect master's voice sounded in a warm and generous manner. Su Zimo looked at the Heaven and Earth Palace before him and took a deep breath before stepping onto the cloud bridge. Chapter 2485. 2485 Exposed True Body. 2485 Exposed True Body. Immortal Qi shrouded Heaven and Earth Palace and a dense mist rose. A figure sat in a lotus position at the front, faintly visible. As Su Zimo entered the Heaven and Earth Palace, the immortal Qi in the palace dissipated gradually, revealing the tall and straight figure of the sect master of the academy. "Greetings, sect master." Su Zimo stood not far away and bowed. The sect master of the academy opened his eyes. His eyes seemed to reflect the vast starry skies and the rumbling mortal world, emitting a strange divine light as he smiled. "Why, as an in-name disciple, you're not even willing to call me master?" The moment Su Zimo met with the eyes of the sect master of the academy, his heart was stirred by an invisible force. Although the sect master of the academy seemed like he was questioning, there was no reproach or displeasure in his tone. Su Zimo did not feel any pressure either. On the contrary, he felt a sense of guilt. "Greetings, master." Su Zimo lowered his head slightly and bowed once more. "Greeting." The sect master of the academy said warmly, "It's fine. If you're unwilling to join my lineage, you can choose from the other immortal king elders after you advance to the perfected one realm. Given your talent, no immortal king elder will reject you." Pausing for a moment, the sect master of the academy suddenly asked, "Are you displeased that I didn't punish Yue Hua severely for today's matter?" "I wouldn't dare," Su Zimo replied honestly. The sect master of the academy shook his head and chuckled. "Your reply implies that you do feel displeased indeed." Su Zimo remained silent as a form of acknowledgement. The sect master of the academy said, "Yue Hua is the #1 perfected immortal of the academy after all. In the future, at the 9 firmament meet, he will still represent the academy to fight for the perfected immortal ranking. I have to give him some face. However, don't worry. Once you advance to the perfected one realm and become a legacy disciple, I can make the decision to let you and Mo Qing become Dao companions as soon as possible." "Ha!" Su Zimo was stunned and had a shocked expression. He could not react for a moment. Why did the sect master suddenly mention him and senior sister Mo Qing? The sect master of the academy smiled. "For us immortality cultivators, in order to become Dao companions, fate is required. That is something accumulated over several lifetimes and can't be forced. Although Yue Hua has courted Mo Qing for many years, it's clear that she has feelings for you all these years. I've seen all of that." "No, master, you might have misunderstood." Su Zimo wanted to explain. The sect master of the academy smiled gently. Don't worry, I'll stand up for you on this matter. Su Zimo realized that he might not be able to explain himself for this. For many years, senior sister Mo Qing had been reclusive and rarely appeared, let alone interacted with anyone. However, over the years, she had been to his cave abode often. Naturally, it was easy for people to associate her with him. Furthermore, senior sister Mo Qing had helped him many times. The last time, she even followed him to Qingyun Mountain to confront the perfected immortal experts of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom. Nobody would believe that the two of them were just ordinary fellow sect mates. Su Zimo remained silent. He had already accepted senior sister Mo Qing's painting. If nothing went wrong, she should not look for him again. As time passed by and the two of them did not interact much, everyone would naturally understand. If he were to explain it forcefully now, it might only make things worse. Additionally, I heard about the battle at Absolute Thunder City. The sect master of the academy said indifferently. Qingyun came to look for me. I only just sent him away and this will be the end of that matter. Although the sect master of the academy said it casually, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Actually, he had already expected that the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom would not let him off after causing such a huge commotion in Absolute Thunder City. However, he had not expected that Qingyun would appear personally for this matter. Although the sect master of the academy said it casually, Su Zimo knew in his heart that if not for the fact that the sect master of the academy had mediated and held back Qingyun for him, he would most likely be a dead man by now. The sect master of the academy did not elaborate on what happened between them after Qingyun arrived. However, one could imagine that the sect master of the academy must have paid a price for it. Perhaps there was a fight between the two of them or the sect master of the academy had to compromise on something before he could send Qingyun away to end this matter. It was no wonder why the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom was so quiet during this period of time without any reaction. Thank you, Master. Su Zimo bowed deeply to the sect master of the academy. Although the sect master of the academy did not explain much, he knew the danger and pressure involved. Rise. A look of relief flashed through the eyes of the sect master of the academy. Since I've taken you in, I naturally have to ensure your safety. Feng Qingyun is already dead. Heaven and Earth Academy can only rely on you for the heaven ranking this time round. Don't worry, Master. Su Zimo said in a deep voice, I'm bent on getting my hands on the top of the heaven ranking. The top of the heaven ranking was secondary. It was mainly because he and Yun Ting would eventually meet in the ranking battle of the heaven ranking and there would inevitably be a battle between the two of them. Su Zimo wanted Yun Ting's human-slaying sword art while Yun Ting wanted his heaven and earth-slaying sword arts. If nothing went wrong, whoever won would be the top of the heaven ranking. Don't be careless. The sect master of the academy shook his head gently. From what I know, Yun Ting has already cultivated to become a grade 9 heaven immortal. There's a difference of 3 realms between you and him. Also, your hell suppression tripod was snatched away by Desolate Marshal. At that point, the sect master of the academy paused for a moment. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged. Although he did not raise his head to look, he could sense the gaze of the sect master of the academy watching him, as though he was observing something. Yunju was right. If she could deduce that the bronze square tripod that the Green Lotus True Body once possessed was the Hell Suppression tripod, the sect master of the academy would naturally be able to guess as well. However, even if the sect master of the academy could divine everything and see through the heavenly secrets, there was no way he could divine the origin of the martial Tao prime body. Upon knowing that the Hell Suppression tripod was in the hands of Desolate Marshal, almost everyone would instinctively think that Desolate Marshal snatched it away from him. That was also the most logical explanation. The reason why Yunju could deduce the relationship between him and Desolate Marshal was mainly because he revealed a clue in Avicii. However, the sect master of the academy did not know what happened in Avicii. Coupled with the fact that he could not divine the origin of the martial Tao prime body, it was only natural for his guess to take off in the wrong direction. The sect master of the academy's pause was extremely short and almost imperceptible. He continued, Your hell suppression tripod was snatched away by Desolate Marshal. On the pretext that you do not use your bloodline, there's no way you can defeat Yun Ting. Su Zimo was shocked. He could still maintain his composure at the mention of the hell suppression tripod and Desolate Marshal. However, When he heard the sect master of the academy mention him not using his bloodline, his heart skipped a beat. The sect master of the academy was clearly hinting at something. Su Zimo also knew that there was no way he could hide the massive emotional fluctuation he just had from the sect master of the academy. He took a deep breath and looked up. Towards Su Zimo, who looked like he was facing a great enemy, the sect master of the academy smiled. "There's no need to be nervous. I've long sensed your creation Green Lotus bloodline." Chapter 2486. 2486 Coincidence. 2486 Coincidence. At that moment, Su Zimo's heart was in turmoil as countless thoughts flashed through his mind. However, in the end, he composed himself and tried his best to remain calm. "Sect Master, when did you find out about it?" Su Zimo asked. Unknowingly, the way he addressed the sect master of the academy had already changed. The sect master of the academy shook his head gently. He seemed a little exasperated towards Su Zimo's reaction. "I sensed it when you first broke through after joining the academy for hundreds of years. However, don't worry. I've long set up a few restrictions around your cave abode and helped you hide the aura of the creation Green Lotus so that no one can detect it." Su Zimo remained silent. Although he did not reveal it on his face, it was clear that he was still wary. The eyes of the sect master of the academy seemed to contain endless wisdom as he chuckled. "Do you really think that I won't notice a creation Green Lotus cultivating continuously in the academy? If that's the case, I won't be fit to stay on as the sect master." At that moment, Su Zimo had already gradually calmed down from his initial shock. If the sect master of the academy truly harbored evil intentions towards him, there would be way too many opportunities. Even now, if the sect master of the academy wanted to plot against his Green Lotus true body, he could just attack directly. Su Zimo would have no power to resist. Furthermore, the sect master of the academy had once saved his life, and even gave him a teleportation jade talisman. This time round, the sect master of the academy helped him to block Qingyun's killing intent. More importantly, if the sect master of the academy truly had designs on him, there was no need for him to expose this matter today. Now that the sect master of the academy was willing to say this openly, it proved that he had nothing to hide. "This matter was a little sudden and I couldn't recover for a moment. Please forgive me, master." Su Zimo looked apologetic. "It's fine." The sect master of the academy smiled gently. "The reason why I told you about this was because I wanted you to be at ease. At the very least, you don't have to be careful and tense every day in the academy. Of course, you still have to be careful outside. Don't expose your bloodline so easily." "Yes." Su Zimo nodded. "That's enough." The sect master of the academy said, "Go back and cultivate. Don't feel burdened or pressured. I'll take my leave now." Su Zimo bowed and turned to leave. After leaving the Heaven and Earth Palace, Su Zimo walked against the wind in the direction of the inner sect. Suddenly, he realized that his green robes were already drenched in sweat. A gentle breeze blew past and a chill ran down his spine. Su Zimo let out a long breath. It was no wonder why everyone said that the sect master of the academy had unparalleled wisdom and could divine all living beings and heavenly secrets. Under the gaze of the sect master of the academy, Su Zimo realized that it seemed like he could not hide anything at all. Su Zimo laughed self-deprecatingly. All these years, he had been careful in the academy as though he was treading on thin ice and tried his best to hide his Green Lotus bloodline. To think that he was seen through long ago. Right then, a figure sped over not far away. In the blink of an eye, it arrived. It was painting immortal Mo Qing. "Senior sister." Su Zimo greeted. Mo Qing sized up Su Zimo and said, "I just heard that senior brother Yue Hua made things difficult for you deliberately. Are you all right?" "It's fine, it's already in the past." Su Zimo shook his head and smiled. "It's good that you're fine." Mo Qing looked at Su Zimo, as though she wanted to say something but stopped. Su Zimo attempted to ask, "Is there anything else, senior sister? Have you given that painting to fellow Taoist Desolate Marshal?" Mo Qing hesitated for a moment before asking. Stunned for a moment, Su Zimo snapped out of his stupor. "I've already given it to him." Mo Qing asked, "What did he say? Was it well drawn?" Su Zimo coughed gently. I came back after sending the painting over. I don't know if he has already seen it. Oh. Mo Qing replied. Su Zimo said, Senior sister, if there's nothing else, I'll head back first. Mo Qing nodded and turned to leave as well. The two of them parted ways. Before long, Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly and his heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, he stopped and turned to call Fairy Mo Qing. Is there anything? Mo Qing asked. Su Zimo channeled his spirit consciousness and asked with a voice transmission. There's something I've never known. Back when I took part in the Immortal Sect selection, how did you arrive in time? Due to the letter in Prince Yuan's was memories, now that he recounted the events of the Immortal Sect selection, there were too many things that seemed too coincidental. Initially, Su Zimo thought that Senior Sister Mo Qing had arrived because the ice butterfly sensed Dai Yu's aura from him. It was the same situation as back in Avicii. However, in reality, Heaven and Earth Academy was extremely far away from the coiling Dragon Mountain range where the Immortal Sect selection was held. There was no way the ice butterfly could have sensed him. Unless Senior Sister Mo Qing was already nearby at that time. However, Senior Sister Mo Qing was someone who rarely went out. How could she have happened to just be in the vicinity of the coiling Dragon Mountain range? Su Zimo looked at Mo Qing and asked with a voice transmission, Did someone ask you to head over, Senior Sister? Yes. Mo Qing nodded. Su Zimo's pupils constricted as he suppressed the violent fluctuation in his heart. His expression was unchanged as he continued asking, Was it the sect master of the academy? No. Mo Qing said it was Elder 8. Su Zimo was stunned and a look of confusion flashed through his eyes. Pausing for a moment, he asked again, Is Elder 8 good at divination? No. Mo Qing shook her head. Elder 8 specializes in weapon refinement and is in charge of all the divine weapons in the academy. How can he be good at divination? Only the sect masters can get the chance to cultivate the cultivation technique that can divine all living beings. No one else is qualified. Mo Qing recalled for a moment and said, At that time, Elder 8 had just returned and happened to see me. He mentioned the matter at the coiling Dragon Mountain range to me and suggested that I step in. Initially, I was unwilling to interfere in this matter. However, Elder 8 said that Zither Immortal Meng Yao was there and that as the painting immortal, I was the most suitable to step in. That was why I went to the coiling Dragon Mountain range. I see. Su Zimo heaved a sigh of relief and murmured softly, In that case, I was thinking too much. Although his question earlier on seemed ordinary, it was the key to the entire matter. If the appearance of the painting immortal was facilitated by the sect master of the academy, there was a high chance that the mysterious letter received by Prince Yuan's came from the sect master of the academy as well. Yuan's was pursuit, Zither Immortal Meng Yao's appearance, the reactions of Flying Immortal Sect, Mountain Sea Immortal Sect and Imperial Wind Temple, Yang Ruoxu's persistence and Senior Sister Mo Qing's appearance. All those variables would all be a part of the sect master of the academy's plan. Su Zimo believed that the sect master of the academy definitely had the capability to do so. But now, because of Mo Qing's explanation, his guess was no longer valid. If the sect master of the academy wanted to plot against him, there was no need to involve an elder of the academy. Senior Sister Mo Qing's appearance was merely a coincidence. The clues related to the letter from Prince Yuan's were gone once more. Why are you asking this? Mo Qing asked with a frown. It's nothing. Su Zimo smiled. I was just asking casually. Chapter 2487. 2487 Pushover. 2487 Pushover. After bidding farewell to Mo Qing, Su Zimo returned to his cave abode and prepared to cultivate in seclusion once more. There was still 1,000 years to go before the divine firmament immortal meet. Under normal circumstances, during this period of time, most high-level heaven immortals would choose to head out to train and look for people to fight. They would try their best to squeeze into the heaven ranking prediction. As for Su Zimo, he was already ranked 17 on the heaven ranking prediction. Even if he did not take part in other fights, he was already qualified to fight for the ranking of the heaven ranking at the divine firmament immortal meet. Therefore, he intended to seize the remaining 1,000 years to cultivate and strive to advance another realm. The sect master of the academy was right. At the realm of a grade 6 heaven immortal, If he did not use the Green Lotus bloodline, he had almost no chance of winning against Yun Ting. All these years, he had been improving continuously and obtained many opportunities. However, Yun Ting did not stagnate as well. Just by looking at the information about Yun Ting on the Heaven ranking prediction, it was clear that the opportunities and encounters that Yun Ting had obtained over the years were no less than his. Even if he could cultivate to become a grade 7 Heaven Immortal, he should only be on par with Yun Ting. Against an opponent like Yun Ting, even if they were only a single cultivation realm apart, the difference would be immense in battle. Furthermore, there was a difference of 3 cultivation realms between them right now. Su Zimo cultivated in seclusion in his cave abode and did not see outsiders. A few days later, Tao Yao returned to the cave abode and continued to take care of all the trivial matters with Lu Ping. For the past half a year, many Heaven Immortal experts from outside the academy came to challenge Su Zimo. Among them, there was no lack of experts who were in the top 20 of the Heaven ranking prediction. The fastest way to enter the Heaven ranking prediction or raise one's ranking was naturally to challenge opponents on the Heaven ranking prediction. As for Su Zimo, he was ranked 17 on the Heaven ranking prediction. However, his cultivation realm was only at the level 6 Heaven Essence realm. Compared to the top Heaven Immortals, there was a difference of 3 cultivation realms. This was an irreparable difference in the eyes of many Heaven Immortal experts. Furthermore, there were way too few battle records for Su Zimo on the Heaven ranking prediction. There were only 2. Although the impact of the battle in Absolute Thunder City was not small, the fact that there were too few battle records caused many Heaven Immortals to assume that Su Zimo was merely all pretense and not as strong as the rumor said. Furthermore, in the eyes of everyone, Su Zimo's ranking was extremely exaggerated. The evaluation given by the Divine Firmament Palace had already stated that Su Zimo's strength could only be ranked in the 60s and 70s at most. The reason why he could be ranked in the top 20 was because he had once avoided an assassination attempt by Zhu Wuying. However, that could only mean that although Su Zimo's escape skills were decent, they could not be reflected in his combat strength. The details of the fight between Su Zimo and Feng Qingyun within Heaven and Earth Academy was not known to outsiders due to the Academy's prohibition. Many people only knew that Feng Qingyun was dead, but they did not know that he died in Su Zimo's hands. Combined with many factors, many Heaven Immortal experts felt that Su Zimo was a pushover that was relatively easy to challenge on the Heaven ranking prediction. For the past half a year, Su Zimo had been in seclusion and refused to fight. No matter how everyone provoked him outside, he was indifferent and ignored them. That reaction confirmed everyone's guess. Instead of decreasing, the number of Heaven Immortal experts challenging them increased. Although there were benefits to entering the Heaven ranking prediction in advance and becoming famous, one would have to endure immense pressure as well. Su Zimo focused wholeheartedly on cultivating and wanted to advance further, unwilling to bother with these challengers. As for Tao Yao and Lu Ping, they received Su Zimo's instructions and naturally blocked all the challengers who came knocking. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. That's the 677th challenger rejected, right? He should be the 678th. After Lu Ping and Tao Yao rejected another challenger, they discussed softly in the cave abode. Lu Ping said, "Senior brother's constant avoidance of battle has a certain impact on his ranking on the Heaven ranking prediction. If someone came knocking for a challenge and Su Zimo avoided it, the Divine Firmament Palace's evaluation of him would naturally decrease." Tao Yao nodded. "I noticed it too. Young master, you've dropped a few spots on the Heaven ranking prediction." Lu Ping raised his fist. "In my opinion, senior brother, you should pick a tough nut to crack among these challengers and teach him a lesson for everyone to see. It'll save this group of people the trouble of coming to challenge you every day. They're so annoying." Right then, another figure descended outside the cave abode. Through an image crystal in the cave abode, Tao Yao could clearly see the situation outside. When he saw who it was, Tao Yao could not help but exclaim, "This cultivator is really beautiful." "It's useless even if she's beautiful. Just send her away casually," Lu Ping said casually without even looking. Tao Yao nodded and sent a voice transmission to the outside of the cave abode. "Fellow Taoist, I'm sorry. Our young master is in seclusion cultivation and won't fight you. Please head back. I'm Xie Qingqing. I'm not here to challenge Brother Su." The person smiled gently. "I'm only here to visit him." Lu Ping pouted. Half of the challengers said that they were merely here to visit. The moment he said that, his expression changed and he reacted. Xie Qingqing. Lu Ping hurried to the image crystal and took a look. It's indeed him. Back in the capital of the Yenyang Immortal Kingdom, Lu Ping had seen this Prince Qingqing. Although this person was a man, he was more beautiful and handsome than most women. Lu Ping had a deep impression of him. Furthermore, Princess Scarlet Rainbow had a good relationship with this person. A year ago, the first person to discover the location of Fengzi and perfected Immortal Burial Night was also Prince Qingqing. Let's ask senior brother. Lu Ping did not dare to make the decision on his own and pulled Tao Yao towards Su Zimo's cultivation chamber. When Su Zimo heard that Xie Qingqing had arrived, he did not hesitate and stood up to welcome Xie Qingqing personally outside the cave abode. Although the two of them had not interacted much previously, he had always remembered how Xie Qingqing had helped him a couple of times. Although this prince of the Yenyang Immortal Kingdom was only an idle prince without any power or influence, Su Zimo had a good impression of him. The two of them sat down and Tao Yao served 2 steaming cups of tea with a fragrance. Xie Qingqing smiled. Brother Su, the battle at Absolute Thunder City a year ago shocked the entire divine firmament. I was shocked when I heard about it as well. It's nothing. Su Zimo said. Yuanzhua has hunted me down many times. I had to return the favor. Your single return killed him and destroyed Absolute Thunder City, Brother Su. Xie Qingqing shook his head and chuckled. Pausing for a moment he said, I heard that you haven't had peace for the past year with endless challengers knocking on your door. Indeed, there were many challengers. However, I ignored them the entire time. Su Zimo smiled and was not bothered. There were not many people in the same cultivation realm who could make him view them as opponents. He could not even be bothered to take a look at the rest. Su Zimo thought of the two of them and asked, By the way, is Su Shi and his son, Su Xiaotian, still with you? How are they doing? Pretty good. Xie Qingqing said, however, Su Shi's talent is limited and he might not be able to become a heaven immortal in the future. Su Xiaotian's talent is not bad and has potential. The two of them chatted for a while more. Although Xie Qingqing looked relaxed and chatted merrily with Su Zimo, he seemed to be troubled. Chapter 2488. 2488 Asura Battlefield. 2488 Asura Battlefield. Brother Xie, is there anything on your mind? Su Zimo asked. Xie Qingqing laughed bitterly. Brother Su, you're sharp and I can't hide it from you. Indeed, I've come to look for you for help for something. This was also what you wanted to say at the foot of Qingyun Mountain, right? Su Zimo smiled, not surprised. At that time, beneath Qingyun Mountain, he promised Xie Qingqing that he could look for him if anything happened in the future. Xie Qingqing was moved but hesitated. After a year, Xie Qingqing visited again. If Su Zimo was not wrong, this should be the matter that he did not say back then. Yes. Xie Qingqing no longer hid anything and said in a deep voice, Firstly, I didn't say it back then because I had not made up my mind on whether I was going to participate in this matter. Secondly, this matter is way too dangerous and there's a certain requirement for the combat strength of cultivators. Brother Su, at that time, you had just exited seclusion and was a grade 6 heaven immortal who wasn't on the heaven ranking prediction. I did not know much about your combat strength and thought that even if I invited you along, you might not be able to help. Instead, it might even be a burden for you. At that point, Xie Qingqing smiled. Later on, the Battle of Absolute Thunder City spread through the entire divine firmament. That was when I found out about your capabilities, Brother Su. What is it? Tell me about it, Brother Xie. Su Zimo asked. Xie Qingqing said, Brother Su, you should know about Xie Tianhong of Spirit Cloud County. He died outside more than 2,000 years ago, but his corpse was never found. Su Zimo lamented internally. Xie Tianhong was slapped to death by the martial Dao prime body and his corpse is in Avicii. Naturally, no one can find it. Xie Qingqing continued. Xie Tianhong was the prince of Spirit Cloud County after all. Because his corpse has not been seen all these years, his previous position has always been empty. Last year, Father finally relented and decided to choose a new prince of Spirit Cloud County from the various princes and princesses. There were more than 1,000 ancient cities and tens of millions of kilometers of territory under the rule of Spirit Cloud County. The Prince of Spirit Cloud County had torrential power and a noble status, far surpassing ordinary princes. Now that this position was empty, it would naturally cause a fight between the royal family bloodlines of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom. Xueqi took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "I don't want to miss this opportunity. I want to give it a shot." Su Zimo remained silent. Previously, Xueqi was only an idle prince and was at the bottom of the royal bloodline. He was dispensable and did not have much of a presence. However, that was also the reason why his situation was relatively peaceful. If he were to participate in such a fight, his future would be filled with countless open and hidden strife. A royal family from a place like the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom had many descendants. It was extremely difficult for anyone to stand out among the many princes and princesses. "Have you decided?" Su Zimo looked at Xueqi and asked solemnly. Xueqi nodded and clenched his fists instinctively. "I want to become a prince who rules over a region and possesses power and status. That's the only way I can clear my mother's name." Su Zimo had once heard Princess Scarlet Rainbow mention unintentionally that Xueqing's mother did not come from a good background. Therefore, his status among the many princes and princesses was not high. "All right, I'll help you." When Su Zimo saw that Xueqing had already decided, he agreed without hesitation. "What are the requirements to be the Prince of Spirit Cloud County?" Su Zimo asked again. Xueqing said, "Father won't let princes who have cultivated to the perfected immortal realm manage such a huge territory. It will cause them to be distracted and affect their cultivation. In other words, as long as one is at the heaven immortal realm, they will be qualified to fight for the position of the Prince of Spirit Cloud County. However, their cultivation realms can't be too low. Grade 1 or 2 heaven immortals will definitely not cut it." Su Zimo swept his spirit consciousness slightly and saw that Xueqing was a grade 7 heaven immortal. Xueqing laughed self-deprecatingly. "I'm just barely qualified." Su Zimo asked, "How are they going to choose the Prince of Spirit Cloud County this time round?" "This time round, Father placed the prince's seal in an ancient ruin." Xueqing said, "Everyone participating in this fight can each lead 100 heaven immortal experts into this ruin to snatch the prince's seal. We can select any 100 heaven immortals, they don't have to be from the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom." Oh! When he heard that, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. In that case, among the 100 heaven immortals, there will definitely be experts on the heaven ranking prediction. Exactly. Xueqing nodded. "From what I know, there are a few people in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction who are prepared to exit seclusion to help the other princes obtain the Spirit Cloud seal." Su Zimo nodded to himself. It was clear that there was another meaning to Immortal King Yen Yang's arrangement. What he valued was not only the personal strength of his descendants, but also their connections, networking and influence in the divine firmament immortal domain. Xueqing said, "From what I know, the heaven ranking prediction has already been announced. In the past year, many heaven immortal experts have appeared one after another, looking for opportunities to climb the heaven ranking prediction. The ancient ruin this time round is the best opportunity. The fight for the seal in this ancient ruin will be the best chance for many heaven immortal experts to squeeze their way into the heaven ranking prediction or refresh their current ranking." Su Zimo nodded and suddenly asked, "Will Yunting be there?" "I don't think so." Xueqing smiled bitterly. If someone can invite Prince Yunting out of seclusion, there will probably be no doubt about the outcome of this fight for the Spirit Cloud seal. Su Zimo nodded. Right now, he was a grade 6 heaven immortal. If he were to fight Yunting, his chances of winning were not high. Pausing for a moment, Su Zimo asked again, "Right, where is the ancient ruin you mentioned earlier on?" "It's a fragment of an ancient battlefield." Xueqing explained. "Rumor has it that an unprecedented battle might have happened in an ancient era. The battlefield was extremely huge and the world was shattered. This ancient ruin is one of the tiny fragments and is usually called the Asura battlefield." "The Asura battlefield?" Su Zimo raised his brow slightly. Xueqing nodded and continued, "Although it's just a small fragment, there's a universe within. Furthermore, there's a strange blood qi in this battlefield that clearly suppresses the many divine powers and secret skills of cultivators." "Oh!" Su Zimo was surprised and asked, what sort of blood qi would have such an effect? I'm not sure either. Xueqi said, according to the information I obtained, this blood qi conceal the divine powers and secret skills of demon beasts. Su Zimo frowned slightly. If it was as Xueqi had said, many of his trump cards would not be able to be released in the Asura battlefield. Xueqi continued, as for why it's called the Asura battlefield, it's because there are many Asura race beings in this battlefield that are half human, half god and extremely powerful. The Asura race. This was an extremely mysterious race that possesses combat strength that's not inferior to the god and dragon races. Back in Asura Monastery of Great Tai Wei Mountain, the martial Tao prime body suppressed one of them. Chapter 2489. 2489 Fight for the Seal. 2489 Fight for the Seal. Heavenly Wolf had once told the martial Tao prime body some information about the Asura race. According to Heavenly Wolf, the Asura race was not human, demon, ghost or god. However, they were innately strong and ugly, possessing extremely powerful and ferocious combat strength. Furthermore, their cultivation realms could not be detected and could only be judged based on their appearances. If the Asura race cultivated to the perfected one realm, they would have 2 heads and 4 arms. 3 heads 6 arms was the innate divine power of the Asura race. However, it was changed and recreated by predecessors, turning into a supreme divine power that humans could cultivate. Su Zimo asked, how many princes are there in the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom who are prepared to fight for the seal this time round? Including me, there are a total of 8 princes and a princess. Xueqi pondered for a moment. To be honest, Brother Su, the cultivation and status of the 8 of them in the royal family is above mine. How many people have you gathered? Su Zimo asked again. At the mention of that, Xueqi smiled bitterly. Less than 20. Su Zimo was not surprised about that. A wise bird chooses a proper tree to nestle in. In the eyes of many heaven immortals of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom, Xueqi was definitely not the best choice. He had no backing, background or potential. Xueqi said, apart from the Asura race, there are also some Yakshas and various powerful demon beasts in the Asura battlefield. Yakshas. Su Zimo frowned slightly. He seemed to have seen the word Yaksha before in Avicii. Xueqi explained. It said that it's a race from an ancient era that has long gone extinct. The living beings of the Yaksha race are extremely ugly, like malevolent ghosts. That's why they're called Yakshas. Su Zimo frowned slightly as a thought flashed through his mind in deep thought. Xueqi continued, in reality, those living beings have already died a long time ago. They merely reincarnated because of the special blood qi in the Asura battlefield. These things are irrational and only know how to attack and kill wildly. Furthermore, the blood qi on the Asura battlefield has an impact on cultivators as well. If their Tao hearts are not strong enough, there's a high chance that they will be invaded by the blood qi and lose their minds completely, turning into puppets controlled by the blood qi. Because there are many dangers for this trip, I don't have many people I can use. Actually, there were more than 1,000 heaven immortals under Xueqi. However, there were not many grade 8 and 9 heaven immortals. Among them, there were also some people who might not be willing to take the risk to follow him into the Asura battlefield. Apart from the irrational living beings like the Asuras, there were also experts of the heaven ranking prediction in the Asura battlefield. Xueqi could not even gather the full 100 heaven immortals. There was no chance of him winning against the other 8 princes. Since the goal is to snatch the seal, it might not be useful even if there are more people. Su Zimo consoled, when will the Asura battlefield open up this time round? 3 days later, in the capital of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom. Alright, I'll look for you in 3 days. 3 days later. In the living room of the inner courtyard of Heaven and Earth Academy, many cultivators were gathered. There were around 1,000 of them with various attires and different auras. The sect badge on their waists proved that these cultivators were from different sects and factions. Almost all the 1,000 cultivators were grade 9 heaven immortals. Apart from some cultivators of the major immortal Tao clans and even heaven immortal experts from the 3 immortal kingdoms, there were also experts from the other 3 immortal sections. The experts of those heaven grade factions sat at the front of the living room proudly. Is Su Zimo going to come out of seclusion? Fufu, do you really think that he's truly in seclusion? That's just an excuse. In my opinion, he's just afraid of battle. In the living room, many cultivators discussed fervently. Yan Bingying led a group of disciples from the academy and sat in the middle. When she saw that, she had a headache. In the past year, the number of cultivators who came knocking to challenge increased. In fact, there were even some who refused to leave unless Su Zimo appeared. Everyone, quiet down. My ranking is far beneath senior brother Su. Yan Bingying frowned slightly and declared, if anyone wants to challenge senior brother Su, they can get through me first. A man on Yan Bingying's left smiled. Fellow Taoist Bingying, there's no need for that. Su Zimo of the academy is the only one we want to challenge. The man was from Flying Immortal Sect and his Dao title was Tianjie. Another heaven immortal of the great Jin Immortal Kingdom sneered. Su Zimo was extremely audacious to dare to assassinate a prince in the great Jin Immortal Kingdom. Why is he so scared that he doesn't dare to appear now? Prince Yun Ting even views him as an opponent. I don't think he's worthy at all. The person who spoke was Fairy Bai Hua, from the Zixuan Immortal Kingdom. Yan Bingying had a helpless expression. Others might not know Su Zimo's strength, but she had witnessed with her own eyes how he suppressed the number one of the inner sect, Fang Qingyun. Everyone, please return. Senior brother Su doesn't want to appear because he doesn't want to fight you guys. Yan Bingying persuaded. Everyone in the hall was unmoved. A disciple of the academy sent a voice transmission. Senior sister Yan, many of them are not even here to challenge senior brother Su. They're here for personal feuds. That's not all. Yan Bingying shook her head gently. There are also some people who might be after senior brother Su's Pure Jade Manual. Right then, two young Dao children passed by the entrance and glanced inside. A green-robed Dao child asked in surprise, "You guys haven't left yet?" "It's him." Someone pointed to the green-robed Dao child. "He's from Su Zimo's cave abode." The two children were naturally Tao Yao and Lu Ping. "Where's Su Zimo?" Flying Immortal Sect's Heaven Immortal Tianjie stood up and asked in a deep voice, "Since the two of you came out, Su Zimo must have come out of seclusion as well, right?" "That's right." Lu Ping nodded and did not hide anything. When they heard that, more than half of the cultivators in the living room stood up with fighting spirit and bright eyes. Lu Ping shook his head quickly. "However, you guys are still a step too late. Senior brother has already left to take part in the Asura battlefield." What's the Asura battlefield? Recently, the Yanyang Immortal Kingdom is choosing a new prince of Spirit Cloud County. It's said that the competing princes can bring 100 heaven immortals into the Asura battlefield. Whoever can snatch the prince's seal will be the new prince of Spirit Cloud County. I heard that there are many heaven ranking experts in the Asura battlefield this time round. It's said that the third on the heaven ranking, Zhong Feiyu, was invited out of seclusion by Princess Yu Yan. Not only that, there are quite a few in the top 10 of the heaven ranking. Su Zimo actually dares to partake in that. There's quite a bit of commotion this time round. From what I know, the Divine Firmament Palace will even send a few perfected immortals to record what happens in the Asura battlefield and update the heaven ranking prediction at any time. How can we see the real-time updates? Let's see how much waves Su Zimo can even cause. Who knows, he might be suppressed the moment he enters. Is there a need to ask? Heaven and Earth Academy will definitely be able to see it. Many cultivators turned to look at Yan Bingying and the other disciples of the academy. Yan Bingying snorted coldly. Those cultivators had evil intentions and were waiting to see senior brother Su make a fool of himself. However, she could not chase them away and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, move to the square in the inner courtyard. The heaven ranking prediction there will be updated in real time." Chapter 2490. 2490 Provocation in front of the palace. 2490 Provocation in front of the palace. The Yanyang Immortal Kingdom. More than 10 cultivators stood in front of the palace, all of them heaven immortals. "Prince Qingqing, we're already here. Who else are we waiting for?" In the crowd, a grade 9 heaven immortal asked. "There's no hurry. You'll know when the time comes." Xie Qingqing smiled gently and beat around the bush. Another grade 8 heaven immortal hesitated for a moment and whispered, Prince Qingyun, I heard that there are a few people in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction this time round. The few of us have no chance of winning against them. We're just taking part casually. I heard that there are many treasures in the Asura battlefield as well. Let's just try our luck. Who knows, we might obtain some inheritance. Another person said. It said that fellow Taoist Yu Ying has just obtained a secret skill inheritance and his combat strength has increased exponentially. With the help of the Asura battlefield this time round, he has a chance to charge into the heaven ranking prediction. A few cultivators looked at a young man in the crowd at the same time. A smug look flashed through the eyes of the young man named Yu Ying as he smiled gently. It's just a chance. It's not certain yet. When Qingyun saw that everyone did not bear any hope for him to snatch the seal, he smiled. Everyone, don't be discouraged. Although we don't have many people, with this expert I invited, we're definitely not weak. What expert? Could he be from the heaven ranking prediction? Everyone's eyes lit up. Qingyun smiled without saying anything. Before long, a green-robed scholar strode over from afar. Although he seemed slow, he arrived in the blink of an eye and cupped his fists towards Qingyun, greeting. This is... Some cultivators frowned slightly in confusion. One of the cultivators who had been to the 10,000-year meet recognized him and whispered, Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy. It was him. A look of surprise flashed through everyone's eyes. Although many people had never seen Su Zimo before, they had heard of that name. The impact of the battle in Absolute Thunder City was way too great. Furthermore, the heaven ranking prediction had already been released for more than a year. Although Su Zimo only had 2 battle records, he was ranked highly and was naturally memorable. Yu Ying frowned slightly. If it was anyone else on the heaven ranking prediction, he would have nothing to say. However, in the past year, rumors about Su Zimo spread everywhere. Many people said that his ranking on the heaven ranking prediction was largely exaggerated. Furthermore, for the past year, Su Zimo chose to avoid all challengers, further verifying those rumors. Let me introduce him. Qingyun said. I'm sure everyone has heard of him before. This is Heaven and Earth Academy's Su Zimo, who is ranked 24 on the heaven ranking prediction. For the past year, Su Zimo avoided all challengers. As a result, the evaluation of him on the heaven ranking prediction dropped as well, causing his ranking to drop from 17 to 24. Apart from Yu Ying, the other cultivators cupped their fists. No matter what the rumors were, Su Zimo was someone on the heaven ranking prediction after all. They could not even touch the edges of the heaven ranking prediction. This is Yu Ying. He is also strong enough to be ranked in the heaven ranking prediction. Qingyun introduced the heaven immortals behind him to Su Zimo one after another. Su Zimo cupped his fists and nodded as a form of greeting. Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy. I've truly heard a lot about you in recent years. Yu Ying smiled. Fellow Taoist Su, I heard that you did not dare to accept challenges from anyone for the past year. I'm truly surprised that you chose to take part in the Asura battlefield today. Although Yu Ying looked polite with a smile on his face, his words were laced with sarcasm. Su Zimo had an indifferent expression and did not even look at that person. After all, this was someone on Qingyun's side at the end of the day. He could not be bothered. Yu Ying. Qingyun frowned slightly and reminded softly. Yu Ying shrugged his shoulders gently and said nothing more. Initially, he had the highest status among this group of people. Now that Su Zimo had replaced him, he was naturally displeased. My! Right then, a chuckle sounded not far away. Isn't that Brother Qingyun? Why, you want to enter the Asura battlefield as well? When Qingyun heard that voice, he could already guess who it was without turning back. A group of cultivators sped over, and there were exactly 101 of them. Their leader was a rotund man in yellow robes. It was Prince Ichio of the Yenyang Immortal Kingdom, a grade 8 heaven immortal. Ha 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 ha. In the blink of an eye, Prince Ichio arrived with a group of heaven immortal experts under his lead. When he saw the 18 cultivators on Qingyun's side, he could not help but burst into laughter brazenly. My dear younger brother, you've only gathered so few people and you still want to enter the Asura battlefield to snatch the seal? Prince Ichio burst into laughter. In my opinion, you should hurry home. With the few people you brought, You'll have to die inside before you can even catch sight of the spirit cloud seal. Holy fuck! When Prince Ichio's gaze landed on Su Zimo, he widened his eyes and said in an exaggerated manner, "No way. You've only recruited these few heaven immortals and there's even a grade 6 heaven immortal among them. Is he here to make up the numbers?" Ha ha! A series of laughter broke out from the crowd behind Prince Ichio. Among the heaven immortals behind Prince Ichio, the weakest were grade 8 heaven immortals while the rest were grade 9 heaven immortals. In everyone's opinion, even a grade 7 heaven immortal was not qualified to take part in a fight of this level, let alone a grade 6 heaven immortal. Su Zimo had a calm expression. However, Xueqi and the others had ugly expressions. They were naturally indignant at being mocked and looked down on. However, the other party had the advantage in numbers and they did not dare to say anything. Yue harumphed coldly. Although he's a grade 6 heaven immortal, he's a paragon expert ranked 24 on the heaven ranking prediction. This is Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy. At the mention of Su Zimo, the mocking laughter on the other end gradually subsided. Many cultivators looked at Su Zimo with surprise and caution. Only a cold-faced man beside Prince Ichio suddenly raised his head. 2 cold beams of light burst forth from his eyes and he did not conceal the hostility in them. It's him! Recognizing that person's background, Yu Ying's heart skipped a beat. Rank 67 of the heaven ranking prediction, Flying Immortal Sect Sword Immortal Pai Han. Sword Immortal Pai Han said slowly, "It is clearly stated on the heaven ranking prediction. Su Zimo only has 2 battle records. The reason why he's ranked so highly is because his escape techniques are not bad." A few more scoffs sounded from the crowd. However, they were much more restrained than the brazen mockery from before. No matter what, the Battle of Absolute Thunder City was still an extremely powerful deterrent for most cultivators. Prince Ichio asked intentionally, "How is he compared to you, fellow Taoist Pai Han?" "If we're talking about fleeing for our lives, I'll naturally have to admit defeat." Sword Immortal Pai Han said, "However, if we're talking about a normal fight to the death, I'll consider him capable if he can even withstand 10 of my sword strikes." Prince Ichio clapped and declared loudly, "Brother Qingyun, how about it? Shall we let the 2 of them spar before entering the Asura battlefield?" Xueqi took a deep breath and suppressed the rage in his heart. There will naturally be a chance to fight after we enter the Asura battlefield. Ha ha! Prince Ichio burst into laughter. "I expected that you wouldn't dare to. Your mother is a lowlife who ascended from the lower worlds. Even if half of the bloodline that flows through your body belongs to father, it won't change the lowlife cowardice in your mother's bones." Chapter 2491. 2491 Teaching You a Lesson. 2491 Teaching You a Lesson. You! When Xueqi heard that, he could no longer hold it in. His beautiful face turned menacing and his gaze was ferocious, as though he wanted to skin Prince Ichio alive. His mother had always been his reverse scale. He could endure any scolding from Prince Ichio. However, after that insult towards his mother, his blood surged and he wanted to attack Prince Ichio. "Prince, don't be rash." Behind him, Heaven Immortal Yue took a step forward and grabbed Xueqing's arm tightly, saying in a low voice, "Prince, calm down. The other party has the advantage in numbers and an expert like Sword Immortal Pai Han. Don't fight them head-on." Xueqing's arms trembled slightly as he clenched his fists. He did not even notice that his fingernails had pierced his flesh. "Brother Xie, can we attack here?" Suddenly, Su Zimo sent a voice transmission. Xueqi was stunned for a moment before realizing something. He looked at Su Zimo with worry, excitement and anticipation and hurriedly sent a voice transmission. "You can attack. As long as no one dies." This was the capital of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom after all. If Su Zimo were to kill Prince Ichio, he would probably attract immense trouble. That was also something Xueqi was unwilling to see. Heaven Immortal Pai Han did not realize the danger yet. His lips curled as he sneered. "I heard that Su Zimo is also a lowlife. It's no wonder why he's as cowardly as a rat. For the past year, he did not dare to accept challenges from anyone." Heh! Initially, Su Zimo's head was lowered, as though his mind was elsewhere. However, right after Heaven Immortal Pai Han said that, he suddenly raised his head and opened his eyes. Like lightning, he looked towards Prince Ichio and Heaven Immortal Pai Han. Suddenly, the two of them felt chills run down their spines. At that moment, both of them had the illusion that they were targeted by the most violent demon beast in the world and could be torn into pieces the next moment. Before they could react, a figure flashed before them and Su Zimo had already closed in. It was too fast. Piak! Su Zimo's palm slapped Prince Ichio's cheek instantly. Prince Ichio's rotund body was sent flying by a single slap from Su Zimo. He smashed heavily into the crowd and half of his cheek was mangled. Prince! Heaven Immortal Pai Han was alarmed and wanted to withdraw his frost-repelling sword to kill Su Zimo. However, Su Zimo did not continue chasing after Prince Ichio after sending the latter flying with a single slap. He pushed in reverse instead. With a clang, the frost-repelling sword was pushed back by Su Zimo halfway through its withdrawal. Su Zimo advanced and elbowed Heaven Immortal Pai Han on the chest. At the same time, he flipped his hand and pushed against Heaven Immortal Pai Han's chin. Poof! Almost at the same time, Heaven Immortal Pai Han's chest was pierced by Su Zimo's elbow. His heart ruptured and blood gushed out. That elbow was like a gigantic spear. Coupled with the toughness of the Green Lotus True Body, Heaven Immortal Pai Han's body could not defend against it at all and was like paper. His heart was shattered and the blood chi of Heaven Immortal Pai Han drained rapidly. Bang! Almost at the same time, Heaven Immortal Pai Han's chin was shattered by Su Zimo's backhand palm strike. His entire head fell backwards and with a crack, his spine snapped. His head slumped down from his back in an extremely terrifying manner. Su Zimo's melee combat techniques were extremely ferocious while Heaven Immortal Pai Han's skills were all on his sword techniques. In the end, the initiative was seized by Su Zimo and Heaven Immortal Pai Han's combat strength was crippled by more than half before he could even withdraw his sword. That single move by Su Zimo caused him to be severely injured. Su Zimo did not show mercy after gaining the upper hand. He took a step forward and enveloped Heaven Immortal Pai Han's face with his palm. A tremendous essence chi burst forth and captured the essence spirit of Heaven Immortal Pai Han. He severed Heaven Immortal Pai Han's blood chi and essence spirit in one go. Su Zimo, what are you doing? When Heaven Immortal Pai Han's essence spirit was separated from his body and restrained, he panicked. In the blink of an eye. His life was in the hands of others. Nothing much. Su Zimo's voice was calm as he said indifferently, just teaching you a lesson. Su Zimo closed his palm slightly and a tremendous amount of heaven and earth essence chi squeezed the limited space of Heaven Immortal Pai Han's essence spirit. At the same time, Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit and released a dermic art. He flicked his finger gently and a milky white flame landed on the damaged body of Heaven Immortal Pai Han. Phew! The southern Mingli fire burned rapidly and turned Heaven Immortal Pai Han's body into a human-shaped fireball. In the hands of Su Zimo, Heaven Immortal Pai Han's essence spirit and body were severely injured. His blood chi was weak and he could not defend against the burning of the southern Mingli fire at all. In the blink of an eye, the Heaven Immortal's body was burned to ashes. Why you destroyed my body? Heaven Immortal Pai Han shrieked. When Heaven Immortals released their divine powers, they could use blood rebirth. But now, Su Zimo had burned the flesh of Heaven Immortal Pai Han clean with a single fire. He did not even have the chance to release a single drop of blood. In the cultivation world, it was extremely difficult to find a suitable body. The essence spirit of Heaven Immortal Pai Han was not doing well in Su Zimo's palm either. His essence spirit dimmed and became extremely weak. Su Zimo, fellow Taoist Su, please show mercy and spare my life. Heaven Immortal Pai Han was truly afraid and begged bitterly. Seems like you don't have much guts either. Su Zimo grinned and threw away the essence spirit of Heaven Immortal Pai Han in his hands casually. As per Xueqing's instructions, he did not kill anyone in front of the palace. Although Heaven Immortal Pai Han survived, he was no different from a cripple. He did not dare to linger and his essence spirit transformed into a streak of light, flying into the distance and disappearing before long. Xueqi and the others were dumbfounded. Rank 67 on the Heaven ranking prediction, Heaven Immortal Pai Han. He was crippled just like that without the chance to retaliate. Bastard of the lower worlds, How dare you ambush me? Prince Ichio had already gotten up. He did not think of retreating immediately. Instead, he glared at Suzimo and scolded through gritted teeth. Listen to my orders. Attack together and kill him. This prince had led a pampered life and was used to being arrogant and domineering. He had not even suffered much outside, let alone experienced any life-and-death situations. He had yet to realize how terrifying Suzimo was and instinctively thought that Suzimo had just succeeded because of an ambush. Foo-foo. Suzimo smiled at him. At this distance, if he wanted to suppress Prince Ichio, no one would even have the chance to save the latter. Before his laughter ended, Prince Ichio felt his vision blur once more. It was a familiar situation with the same outcome. Piak! Prince Ichio's cheek was slapped once more. However, this time round, his rotund body was yanked back by Suzimo's hair before it could fly out. Ah! Prince Ichio felt a sharp pain above his head and his scalp was about to be torn apart. The 100 cultivators at the side froze on the spot, not knowing what to do. Before they could attack, Prince Ichio was already in Suzimo's hands. Everyone was wary and did not dare to act rashly. Suzimo held down the top of Prince Ichio's head and sealed his essence spirit, preventing it from escaping from his body. His other palm slapped Prince Ichio's cheek repeatedly. Piak, piak, piak. You can only blame yourself for having such a dirty mouth. Suzimo murmured softly and his hands did not stop moving. Before long, Prince Ichio's head was swollen into a mangled pig's head without any resemblance to a human. Chapter 2492. 2492. Are you guys trying to get me killed? 2492. Are you guys trying to get me killed? When he saw that, the anger in Xueqing's heart gradually calmed down and he felt an unprecedented joy. Earlier on, even if he attacked forcefully, he would most likely not be able to do anything to Prince Ichio and the matter would be left unsettled. However, Suzimo stood out and crippled Heaven Immortal Pai Han with thunderous methods. He even grabbed Prince Ichio to slap him as a form of revenge for him. Furthermore, the punishment of a prince in front of everyone was even crueler than killing him. From this day forth, Prince Ichio would become a joke in the royal family of the Yangyang Immortal Kingdom and might even be inferior to him in terms of status. In reality, Suzimo's punishment for Prince Ichio was not merely the slaps. He controlled the strength of his palm and every single slap on Prince Ichio's face would cause a certain degree of shock to his essence spirit. Once an essence spirit was injured, it was extremely difficult to recover without extraordinary means. Even if Prince Ichio recovered from his injuries in the future, it would be difficult for him to break through in his cultivation realm and there might even be a problem with his head. Since Suzimo chose to attack, he had to get rid of future troubles. Naturally, Prince Ichio posed no threat to him. However, it was hard to guarantee that he would not attack Xueqi in the future. In reality, Prince Ichio had led a pampered life and had never encountered such a situation. He was long scared out of his wits and his mind went blank after being slapped by Suzimo. If he was still awake, he would have submitted and begged for mercy a long time ago. Someone like him who bullied the weak and feared the strong would have to avoid Xueqi in the future, let alone take revenge, afraid that he would be beaten up again. Finally, the slapping sounds stopped. Prince Ichio's mouth was completely smashed. His essence spirit was shaken, leaving hidden injuries. The healing speed of the wounds on his face decreased significantly and his face was filled with blood. This is enough, right? Suzimo turned to look at Xueqi and asked with a smile. Stunned for a moment, Xueqi nodded hurriedly. Yes, yes. Looking at Suzimo's smile, the Heaven Immortals behind him could not help but shudder. Who would have thought that the gentle and smiling scholar before them would be so ferocious and ruthless? Heaven Immortal Yu Ying's face turned pale. He could not help but feel a sense of trepidation when he recalled his earlier provocation of displeasure towards Suzimo. Suzimo threw Prince Ichio into the crowd casually. The cultivators on the other end hurried forward to receive him as they exchanged glances, not knowing what to do. Let's go, Suzimo said. Xueqi nodded and brought Suzimo and the others into the palace of the Yangyang Immortal Kingdom. Prince Ichio! Prince Ichio! A group of cultivators hurriedly gave immortal pills in their collections to Prince Yi Qiu, shaking the latter while shouting gently. Prince Yi Qiu consumed a few immortal pills and only woke up after a while. Prince Yi Qiu, what should we do about this? They've truly gone too far. We can't let things go just like that. Prince, should we chase after them? Everyone discussed fervently. Is this not enough? Are you guys trying to get me killed? Prince Yi Qiu was so scared that he shivered and the fat on his body trembled. His head that now resembled a pig shook like a drum as he said in fear, "Hurry, hurry! Get me away from that person. We're not taking part in the Asura battlefield anymore." Under the urging of Prince Yi Qiu, the group of cultivators fled before they even entered the palace. Under Xie Qingqing's lead, everyone headed towards the west of the palace. Along the way, the attitudes of the other cultivators towards Su Zimo changed drastically. Even Yuing behaved himself. "Fellow Taoist Su, your methods are truly terrifying." Yuing praised, "In my opinion, even rank 24 is too low for you on the heaven ranking prediction." Su Zimo smiled but did not reply. Yuing coughed gently and continued, "Fellow Taoist Su, your attack severed Prince Yi Qiu's thoughts of snatching the seal. Before we even entered the Asura battlefield, Prince Qingqing now has one less opponent." "That's right." The other cultivators chimed in. Su Zimo still ignored Heaven Immortal Yuing. Heaven Immortal Yuing looked awkward after being snubbed and could only remain silent. "In order to enter the Asura battlefield, we have to pass through a special teleportation formation in the west." Xie Qingqing chatted with Su Zimo as he led everyone through the palace. Before long, they arrived at their destination. There was a square ahead and hundreds of people had already arrived. They were divided into different teams and conversed. Within the teams, their leaders all wore the royal robes unique to the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom emblazoned with blazing suns. It was easy to recognize them and it was clear that they were from the royal family of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom. "Brother Su, that woman is Princess Yu Yan, the only woman in the royal family this time round." Xie Qingqing whispered to Su Zimo. Although she was a woman, she was qualified to fight for the prince's seal. It was clear that this woman's status in the Yang Immortal Kingdom was not low. However, Su Zimo's gaze swept past Princess Yu Yan and landed on a man beside her, narrowing slightly. The man wore a long robe that was etched with flying fish. His long hair was tied up high and his lips were curled the entire time. There was a demonic smile on his face and his eyes flashed with a cold glint from time to time. This was an expert. Although he was far away, he could sense an extremely dangerous aura from the man. The person beside Princess Yu Yan is Zong Feiyu of Flying Immortal Sect. He is rank 3 on the heaven ranking prediction. Xie Qingqing said in a low voice, "Because Yu Yan invited Zong Feiyu out of seclusion, she has a high chance of snatching the seal this time round." Zong Feiyu, a reincarnated perfected immortal, was initially rank 2 on the heaven ranking prediction. He only dropped a spot after Yun Ting became a grade 9 heaven immortal. However, in reality, among the top 3 monster incarnates, Yun Ting, Qingyun and Zong Feiyu, even the perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace in charge of the heaven ranking prediction could not come to a conclusion as to who was stronger. "The young man playing with fire is Prince Yan." Xie Qingqing continued, "He's extremely talented in the Tao of Flames and father thinks highly of him. Right now, he's a grade 9 heaven immortal. The person beside him is rank 4 on the heaven ranking prediction. He's a reincarnated perfected immortal from our Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom, Lai Xian." Su Zimo's gaze landed on Lai Xian. Although Lai Xian did not look old, there was an occasional hint of vicissitude in his eyes. The evaluation of Lai Xian on the heaven ranking prediction was extremely high as well and his strength was unfathomable. Up till this point of his cultivation, his battle records have been impressive and no one had been able to force him to use his full strength. Lai Xian could be considered as the #1 heaven immortal of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom. The fact that he was willing to help Prince Yan was also proof of the latter's status in the Yen-Yang royal family. "That's Prince Feng." Xie Qingqing pointed to the other side and said, "The helper he invited is heaven immortal Luo Yang from Imperial Wind Temple who is rank 8 on the heaven ranking prediction." Su Zimo's gaze landed on heaven immortal Luo Yang. His expression changed as he murmured softly, "So, it's him." He had seen Heaven Immortal Luo Yang before on the Dragon Abyss Star. However, at that time, he was only a black immortal. At that time, the birth of a grade 9 spirit treasure on the Dragon Abyss Star attracted a group of experts. Among them, the most famous Heaven Immortals were this Heaven Immortal Luo Yang and Mei Ji of Flying Immortal Sect. However, Mei Ji did not leave the Dragon Abyss Star later on and tried to kill Su Zimo. Instead, she was killed by the Vermilion Bird Sacred Soul on the Hell Suppression Tripod. Chapter 2493. 2493 Don't Come Over. 2493 Don't Come Over. When Xueqing's group walked over, they naturally attracted the gazes of the teams. When Su Zimo noticed Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, he caught sight of Su Zimo as well. Their gazes met briefly in midair. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang was about to avert his gaze when he seemed to have thought of something. His expression changed and his pupils constricted. "It's him?" A look of disbelief flashed through Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's eyes. This was the Black Immortal from back then. He survived. Furthermore, he had even cultivated to the realm of a grade 6 Heaven Immortal. It had only been a few thousand years. For a Heaven Immortal with a lifespan of 300,000 years, thousands of years passed in the blink of an eye. The puny Black Immortal of the past had already grown to such an extent in just a few thousand years and was almost catching up to him. How was that possible? Since this person was on the Dragon Abyss Star, he was definitely someone who had ascended from the lower worlds. How could he possess talent comparable to Yun Ting? Even if he had Yun Ting's talent, how could he obtain a massive amount of cultivation resources, opportunities and encounters like Yun Ting? Furthermore, back then, such a huge commotion happened on the Dragon Abyss Star. In fact, a true dragon appeared and many Heaven Immortals and Earth Immortals died. Even his senior brother, Perfected Immortal Wu Feng, Sword Immortal Yue Hua of Heaven and Earth Academy and Zither Immortal Meng Yao, 3 Perfected Immortal experts, were injured and escaped. This person was only a Black Immortal. How did he survive? Furthermore, he had grown to such an extent in thousands of years. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang recalled that the reason why their group of experts gathered at the Dragon Abyss Star was because there was a secret ground there. Although no one found the secret ground, there were indeed many divine weapons that appeared in that abyss. There was even a pure Yang spirit treasure, the God Fiend Soul Summoning Banner. However, the God Fiend Soul Summoning Banner strangely vanished into thin air. Now that he thought about it, there was a high chance that this person had obtained the God Fiend Soul Summoning Banner. In fact, he might have even obtained all the treasures in the secret ground. That was the only possibility that could cause this person's cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds to reach this point. When Su Zimo saw the reaction of Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, he guessed that this person had already thought of the scene back then. However, back then, there was no direct conflict or deep feud between him and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang. Su Zimo glanced at him before retracting his gaze. Right then, Su Zimo felt a strong hostility and killing intent. The moment he saw that person, he understood. There was even a Heaven Execution Guard of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom in one of the teams. Others might not know him, but almost everyone in the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom had seen his appearance before. After all, he was hunted down by the entire Great Jin Immortal Kingdom back then. Xueqi noticed this as well. This person has a powerful background and is the #1 Heaven Execution Guard of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom, Song Su. His methods are ferocious and his combat strength is terrifying. He's rank 5 on the Heaven ranking prediction. Brother Su, you must be careful. Song Su glared at Su Zimo coldly and revealed an icy smile. He reached out and made a beheading gesture at his throat, filled with killing intent and provocation. Su Zimo was unmoved by Song Su's provocation. Xueqi continued. The person who invited Song Su out of seclusion was Prince Ming Jiong. His cultivation is also at the grade 9 Heaven Immortal Realm. That's Prince Yu over there. Among the people he invited this time round, the strongest is Yu Hai of Mountain Sea Immortal Sect. He's rank 7 on the Heaven ranking prediction. Su Zimo nodded to himself. The fight for the seal this time round was indeed lively. Out of the top 10 of the Heaven ranking prediction, half of them were here. Who's the red-headed prince over there? Su Zimo looked to the other side and asked. Qingyun said, "That is Prince Tian Huang. He has the bloodline of a divine phoenix and my father is rather fond of him as well, giving him the name Tian Huang. Although none of the 100 heaven immortals behind him are experts on the heaven ranking prediction, he is rank 10 himself. He's also the strongest among us princes and princesses."
Oh.
Su Zimo raised his brows slightly. "In that case, 6 of the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction are here." Qingyun said, "Initially, Xie Tian Huang could not be ranked in the top 10. Because of Feng Qingyun's death, there was an empty spot and he was able to become rank 10. Including Qingyun, Su Zimo and the others, there were already 6 teams on the square. Apart from Prince Yiqiu, there were 2 other princes who had yet to arrive." Right then, a voice sounded from behind. "Qingyun, I thought it was a casual remark when you said that you were going to fight for the seal. To think that you would really dare to come." Qingyun, Su Zimo and the others turned back. 2 teams were heading over and the person who spoke had a mocking and arrogant expression. When the other prince saw Qingyun, he did not say anything. Instead, he nodded slightly and greeted. Qingyun whispered to Su Zimo, "The person who spoke is Prince Xingyan. This time round, he invited 2 experts on the heaven ranking prediction, but their rankings are not high. One of them is rank 79 while the other is rank 93. Su Zimo nodded slightly. From the looks of it, the strength of this Prince Xingyan was far inferior compared to the previous 5 princes. Qingyun continued, "The person beside him is Prince Changtian. His status in the royal family is similar to mine." Prince Xingyan smiled as he walked. "Qingyun, you can't even gather 100 high-level heaven immortals and you still have the cheek to take part in the Asura battlefield. Take a look at Changtian. Although he recruited a bunch of nobodies, he gathered 100 of them at the very least. With your group of slightly more than 10 people, you had better hurry home and stop embarrassing yourself." Right then, 2 guards of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom sped past outside with frightened expressions, as though something had happened. "What's wrong? Why are you so flustered? Come down and talk to us." Prince Xingyan hollered. The 2 guards hesitated for a moment before descending. One of them said, "Earlier on, Prince Yiqiu and Prince Qingyun had a conflict outside the palace. In the end, Heaven Immortal Pai Han was crippled by Su Zimo in 2 moves and did not even have the chance to draw his sword. Prince Yiqiu was also beaten into a daze by Su Zimo. He has already returned and announced that he's giving up on fighting for the seal." "What?" Prince Xingyan and the others were shocked. Even Prince Yan, Princess Yu Yan and the others looked over when they heard the name Su Zimo. They had long heard that Heaven Immortal Pai Han was recruited by Prince Yiqiu to help him fight for the seal. To think that he would be crippled before he could even enter the palace. Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy? Rank 24 on the Heaven ranking prediction? Prince Xingyan asked hurriedly. Another guard nodded repeatedly. It said that Su Zimo has already left the sect and has chosen to help Prince Qingyun fight for the seal. What caused the conflict? Prince Changtian asked. The guard replied, "I heard that Prince Yiqiu mocked Prince Qingyun and might have scolded him badly. Thereafter, Su Zimo attacked and crippled Heaven Immortal Pai Han on the spot. He even grabbed Prince Yiqiu and slapped him until his mouth was smashed. His mouth was smashed just because he mocked Qingyun." Prince Xingyan suddenly felt a chill. Earlier on, he mocked Qingyun as well. Instinctively, Prince Xingyan looked towards Qingyun with a bewildered expression and asked in a deep voice, "Who is Su Zimo?" "I." Su Zimo took a step forward. "Don't come over." Suddenly, Prince Xingyan was shocked and hid among the Heaven Immortals behind him in a panic. He pointed at Su Zimo from afar and shouted fiercely, "You must not act recklessly." Chapter 2494 2494 Seal Snatching Rules. 2494 Seal Snatching Rules. To Prince Xingyan, Su Zimo was a complete lunatic. Before they were in the Asura battlefield, an expert on the heaven ranking prediction was already crippled and Prince Yiqiu was beaten so badly that he did not dare to take part in the battle. Who knew if this person would suddenly go crazy and attack him? He did not want to be slapped in front of everyone. He could not afford to lose face like that. When he saw Prince Xingyan's reaction, Su Zimo smiled gently. In reality, he had no intention of attacking at all. Previously, outside the palace, he chose to attack because Prince Ichio had scolded them too much. In fact, he even wanted to kill. Right now, Prince Xingyan merely said a few words of mockery. Since Xie Qingqing did not care at all, there was no need for him to fight. Su Zimo. On the other side, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's heart skipped a beat as he narrowed his eyes slightly. He's Su Zimo? Over the years, he had heard many rumors about Su Zimo. To think that Su Zimo was the puny black immortal he encountered on the Dragon Abyss star back then. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang was not the only one. When Su Zimo stood out, countless gazes landed on him at the same time. Furthermore, some of their gazes were filled with obvious hostility. Su Zimo? Beside Princess Yu Yan, the evil look on Zhong Feiyu's face intensified as he murmured, "Since you came knocking on my door, you can't blame me." "Do you have a feud with him, Brother Zhong?" Princess Yu Yan asked. "No." Zhong Feiyu shrugged his shoulders gently. "However, I'll kill him as a gift for junior sister Meng Yao. Su Zimo is someone that junior sister Meng Yao misses dearly." Before Zhong Feiyu reincarnated, he was Meng Yao's senior brother. After he reincarnated, she did not change the way she addressed him. Apart from Zhong Feiyu and Song Su of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom, the other 4 people in the top 10 of the Heaven ranking prediction looked at Su Zimo with different expressions, seemingly plotting something. Rank 4, Lai Xian, Rank 7, Yu Hai, Rank 8, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang and Rank 10, Prince Tian Huang. None of them had any feuds with Su Zimo. However, everyone knew that Su Zimo possessed the taboo mystic classic, the Pure Jade Manual. Usually, Su Zimo was at Heaven and Earth Academy. Even if everyone had such thoughts, they would not have many chances. But now, Su Zimo had left the sect for Xie Qingqing to enter the Asura battlefield. For the few of them, this was a godsend opportunity. In a fight of the same cultivation realm, one could only blame themselves for not cultivating well and being inferior to others if their cultivation techniques and secret skills were snatched away. Although the few of them were tempted, they did not express it. Before long, they retracted their gazes, worried that they would alarm Su Zimo. However, in reality, Su Zimo's spirit perception was sharp and he could read their expressions. He had already guessed most of their thoughts. Although he was expressionless, a sense of worry rose in his heart. According to Xie Qingqing, there was a strange malevolent blood qi in the Asura battlefield that could seal divine powers and secret skills of demon beasts. This meant that he could not release his innate divine power, the 6-tusked divine strength. His combat strength would be greatly reduced as well. In order to fight against many Grade 9 Heaven Immortals at the Grade 6 Heaven Immortal realm, the 6-tusked divine strength was extremely important for his overall strength increase. Without the 6-tusked divine strength, he might not gain the upper hand in a head-on fight against these monster incarnates who were in the top 10 of the Heaven ranking prediction. Of course, killing and fighting did not merely depend on one's cultivation realm. Even without the 6-tusked divine strength, Su Zimo was absolutely confident that he could crush anyone of the same cultivation realm in melee combat. Even if these 6 monster incarnates that were in the top 10 of the Heaven ranking prediction joined forces, he was not worried about himself. Given his capabilities, even if he could not defeat them, he could escape unscathed. However, if that was the case, it would be difficult for him to help Xie Qingqing obtain the Spirit Cloud Seal. Furthermore, because he was on Xie Qingqing's side, there was a high chance that the latter would end up facing even greater resistance. Su Zimo sent a voice transmission, "Brother Xie, I might cause you quite a bit of trouble by helping you this time round. It probably won't be that simple to get our hands on the seal." Xie Qingqing smiled casually. "Brother Su, you don't have to worry about me. If you hadn't appeared, I wouldn't have had a chance at all. But now, I've at least seen a sliver of hope." Su Zimo nodded and said nothing more. "Everyone is here." Right then, a figure sped over from afar. His voice sounded before he even arrived. It was perfected immortal Xie Ling. Back in the fight for the Earth ranking at the 10,000-year meet, this person was the host. Xie Ling surveyed his surroundings and paused slightly when his gaze landed on Su Zimo. He had a deep impression of Su Zimo. Back then, he was the top of the Earth ranking. However, Xie Ling had not expected that in just around 3,000 years, This Earth immortal of the past had already cultivated to become a grade 6 heaven immortal. Furthermore, he even crippled another expert that was ranked highly on the heaven ranking prediction right in front of the palace with thunderous methods. Everyone already knows that the fight for the seal this time round is in the Asura battlefield. Xueqi said, "Next, I'll talk about the rules of snatching the seal. The battle for the seal will last for a month. There's a dilapidated ancient city in the center of the Asura battlefield. You guys have to reach the ancient city as soon as possible after entering the Asura battlefield. That's because there are many Asuras, Yakshas and powerful demon beasts that have their minds corroded by the malevolent blood chi wandering outside the ancient city. If you linger outside, you'll have to endure the endless attacks of these living beings. There's an ancient mysterious power in the ancient city. Although the Asura race has lost their minds, they won't dare to approach. In the center of the ancient city is a lake condensed from blood chi. That's also the origin of the strange malevolent blood chi. The spirit cloud seal is located on a lone island in the middle of the lake." Pausing for a moment, Xueqi continued, "On the last day, there will be a Paramitha bridge that will stretch across the lake and connect the lone island to the ancient city. That will be your only chance to charge onto the lone island and snatch the spirit cloud seal. Before that, everyone, you must be careful not to attempt to cross the lake. The lake is filled with malevolent blood chi that is 100 times richer than the other regions all year round. Any living being that wants to cross the lake will be devoured by it. Additionally, there will be 6 perfected immortals from Divine Firmament Palace entering the Asura battlefield with you guys. They will be paying attention to the battle for the seal and will update the heaven ranking prediction in real time." Many cultivators were eager and excited. If they could display their skills and stand out in this battle for the seal, they would definitely be able to be ranked on the heaven ranking prediction. This was also a rare opportunity for many cultivators to be on the rankings. Xueqi said, "Of course, there might be some divine weapons, ancient inheritances and opportunities in the Asura battlefield this time round. That will depend on your own fates." Thereafter, Xueqi took out a large number of talismans from his storage bag and waved his hand. The talismans transformed into streaks of spirit light and landed in front of many cultivators, one for each of them. "This is a simple teleportation talisman." Xueqi said, "Everyone is a genius of the major sects and factions after all. The Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom doesn't want you guys to die in the Asura battlefield either. If you encounter irreconcilable danger, as long as you tear this teleportation talisman, you'll be able to leave the Asura battlefield immediately and return here." Chapter 2495. 2495 Cruel Asura Battlefield. 2495 Cruel Asura Battlefield. Many cultivators put away the teleportation talisman hurriedly with delighted expressions. With this teleportation talisman in his hands, it meant that all the cultivators who entered the Asura battlefield would have a guarantee of safety. Even if they encountered any danger inside, everyone could escape unscathed. Noticing everyone's expressions, Xueqi shook his head gently. "There's a need to remind everyone that this is only a teleportation talisman. It can't guarantee your safety in the Asura battlefield. The environment inside is complicated and danger is ubiquitous. You may find yourself in peril at any moment. If you don't tear this teleportation talisman in time, you'll still die inside." Everyone's heart skipped a beat when they heard that and their relaxed nerves tensed up once more. Xueqi's gaze swept past the princes. "I know that you've invited many helpers this time round, but these people can only assist in the fight for the seal and can't snatch the spirit cloud seal directly. There's a unique seal of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom on the spirit cloud seal. Only the bloodline of the Yin-Yang royal family can remove it." At that point, Su Zimo and Xie Qingqing exchanged glances. If there was such a restriction rule, it would add many variables to the battle for the seal. Based on the ranking of the heaven ranking prediction, Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian and Song Su, who were 3, 4 and 5 respectively, had the strongest combat strength. However, even if any of the 3 of them arrived at the lone island in the city beforehand, they would not be able to dispel the seal on the spirit cloud seal. It was useless. The arrangement of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom clearly had another meaning. In this battle for the seal, it was not only to test the connections of the princes, but also their individual strength. At that time, there might be a fight between the princes. That rule was extremely disadvantageous for Xie Qingqing. Qing's cultivation was only at the grade 7 Heaven Immortal realm and his combat strength was ranked last among the princes and princess. Instead, the rule provided an advantage for Prince Tian Huang who was ranked 10 on the Heaven ranking prediction. There was a hint of worry on Qing's face. Regardless of how the rules were, he did not have much of a chance of obtaining the seal. As though he could sense the depression in Qing's heart, Su Zimo smiled gently. I'll do my best. Don't give up until the final moment. Yes. Qing nodded. Everyone, do you have any other questions? Xialing surveyed his surroundings and looked at the remaining 8 teams. Everyone shook their heads and rubbed their palms, prepared to enter the Asura battlefield. Xialing said, everyone is going to stay in the Asura battlefield for a month this time round. During this period of time, no matter what happens inside, the outside world won't interfere. If there are no other questions, I'll activate the teleportation formation. Second brother, hurry! Tian Huang grinned and urged impatiently. Without saying anything more, a few divine lights surged out from Xialing's fingertip and entered the ground in the middle of the square. Whoosh! Instantly, the ground shone brightly and mysterious formation patterns appeared one after another, spinning slowly. Everyone, step onto the teleportation formation. Xialing added. When everyone heard that, they moved one after another. The 8 teams in the square vanished in a flash of light. A desolate and dilapidated world was surrounded by a faint blood-colored fog. Suddenly, a crack appeared in midair and figures fell from within. Su Zimo, Qing and 18 other cultivators descended from the skies and stabilized themselves rapidly. They released their spirit consciousnesses and scanned their surroundings. Although the blood-colored fog in the surroundings was thin, it had a significant impact on one's vision and spirit consciousness detection range. Standing in midair, Su Zimo frowned slightly. When all of them descended, they were tainted by the faint blood fog around them. It stuck to their bodies like a layer of tendons. It was extremely uncomfortable. Unexpectedly, this should be the malevolent blood qi that Qing mentioned. Su Zimo tried to activate the 6-tusk divine strength with a secret skill. Indeed, he did not succeed and felt a powerful suppression. What sort of evil malevolent blood qi is this powerful? Su Zimo was confused. The 6-tusk divine strength was inherited from the 6-tusk divine elephant. Even in the upper world, the 6-tusk divine elephant was a powerful living being that was not weaker than the dragon race. On land, his combat strength might even surpass the dragon race. Even so, that innate divine power was still sealed by the strange malevolent blood qi. Without the augmentation of the 6-tusk divine strength, his combat strength was greatly affected. Look over there. That's the Asura race, right? A cultivator pointed into the distance and murmured. Everyone else looked over with shocked expressions. Although they had cultivated to become high-level heaven immortals, this was the first time they had seen the Asura race. The Asura laid flat on the ground with a gigantic hole in his chest and his head was riddled with holes as well. However, his body was massive and muscular, more than 100 feet tall. He had 2 horns on his head and his body was dead silent. Even though he had died for many years, his bronze body still exuded a savage and violent aura. Prince Qingqing, should we take a closer look? Heaven Immortal Yu Ying suggested. Nobody has seen the Asura race before. We can take this opportunity to take a look. Who knows, we might encounter some opportunities. Wah! Qingqing hesitated. Don't go over. Su Zimo glanced in that direction. Hurry and leave this place. Why? Heaven Immortal Yu Ying frowned and could not help but sound displeased with Su Zimo. The moment he made a suggestion, it was rejected by Su Zimo. Naturally, he felt embarrassed. Nearby the Asura, Prince Changtian descended with a group of heaven immortals. Right then, 2 red beams of light burst forth from the empty sockets of the Asura corpse that was initially dead. Phew! Immediately after, as though he had suddenly awakened, the Asura sat up and grabbed towards the crowd. Prince Changtian and the others were way too close to this Asura. 100 heaven immortals gathered and thought that it was only a corpse of the Asura race. They did not expect the corpse to stand up and attack. Most heaven immortals reacted extremely quickly and dispersed. However, the gigantic hand of the Asura covered the skies and instantly grabbed 3 heaven immortals in his palm, squeezing them. Poof! Before the teleportation talismans of the 3 heaven immortals could be released, they were crushed into sludge and their essence spirits were destroyed. On Xueqing's side, Heaven Immortal Yu Ying and the others shuddered in fear. Thankfully, they did not rush over immediately. Otherwise, that slap might have been aimed at them. The moment everyone descended on the Asura battlefield, 3 heaven immortals died. Xueqi and the others did not have many people to begin with. If a few more died, none of them would be able to see the ancient city in the center. Even with the teleportation talismans, the Asura battlefield was much more cruel and bloody than many cultivators had imagined. Everywhere was fraught with danger. Chapter 2496. 2496 Monster. 2496 Monster. The Heaven Immortal experts on the side of Prince Qingyun suppressed their initial fear and were enraged, attacking the Asura one after another. Instantly, divine weapons, dermic treasures, divine powers and secret skills descended one after another and struck the battered body of the Asura. Before long, the Asura was sliced into pieces by the people on the side of Prince Qingyun and dismantled into pieces. He could not have been more dead. Xueqi and the others had grim expressions. This was only a corpse of the Asura race. Even so, it posed a huge threat to a group of heaven immortals. If they had physiques, bloodlines and were in their peak condition, how terrifying would the Asura race be? There were still countless powerful and troublesome Asuras remaining in this Asura battlefield. Let's go. Xueqi compared the place to a map of the Asura battlefield and headed towards the central region. This was everyone's first time entering the Asura battlefield. Because they were unfamiliar with the environment here, they did not walk fast and observed their surroundings constantly. Along the way, one could see that the battlefield was desolate and strewn with corpses. It was dilapidated and countless shattered weapons were scattered on the ground. In some places, mountains of corpses could be vaguely seen under the cover of the blood fog. It was extremely shocking. One could imagine how tragic the battle was back then. Many different living beings could be seen from the corpses. There was a high chance that thousands of living beings of different races were implicated in the war back then. Look over there. Right then, a skinny cultivator at the back pointed in a direction not far away. There seemed to be something beneath a shattered corpse that was emitting a faint green light. Almost everything in the Asura battlefield was dilapidated and dim. Along the way, the ball of green light not far away was almost the only light they came across. It's a treasure. Almost at the same time, a thought flashed through everyone's minds. To be able to emit light despite the impact of countless years, this treasure definitely contained incredible power. It was isolated by the thin blood fog and no one could see it clearly. From its outline, it looked like an uneven stone. Xueqi had said that there were some opportunities and encounters in the Asura battlefield that depended on their own fates. I'll go take a look. The skinny cultivator could not hold it in any longer and suppressed the excitement in his heart, prepared to move over. Don't go! Su Zimo frowned slightly and stopped the person in time. Brother Su, what's wrong? Xueqing's heart skipped a beat as he asked hurriedly, did you notice anything amiss? I don't know. Su Zimo shook his head. He could not tell what the green stone was either. However, his spirit perception could sense a hint of danger. When everyone heard Su Zimo's warning, they did not dare to be careless and hurriedly released their spirit consciousnesses to scan the area a few times but did not find anything unusual. We should just leave, Xueqi said. Although he did not discover any problems, he was still willing to believe in Su Zimo. However, the others were hesitant. After all, the treasure was right in front of them and no one wanted to miss it. What if it was some huge opportunity that could change their fates and allow them to soar? Yu Ying's heart itched as well. However, he did not dare to act rashly. Rolling his eyes, he came up with a plan and probed, fellow Taoist Su, aren't you being a little too cautious? The skinny cultivator who discovered the treasure initially could not hold it in to begin with. When he heard that, he said hurriedly, that's right, that's right. You guys can just stay here. I'll go take a look. Su Zimo had only met these people by chance and did not have much of a relationship with them. It was already extremely benevolent of him to remind them once. If he insisted on stopping this person, he might incur the other party's hatred instead. Su Zimo did not persuade further and merely said indifferently, I can ensure everyone's safety within 100 feet radius. Beyond this radius, if anything happens, I won't be able to save you guys. The stone that was emitting green light was clearly more than 100 feet away. Su Zimo's words were actually a warning to the other party. However, the skinny cultivator was unappreciative and grumbled, Didn't you fail to notice anything wrong with it either? Furthermore, with the teleportation talisman in my hands, even if there's any danger, I can just escape. As he said that, the skinny cultivator took out the teleportation talisman and held it in his hands, prepared to tear it apart at any moment. Actually, apart from Su Zimo, none of the cultivators who followed Xueqi into the Asura battlefield truly wanted to help him obtain the seal. That was because in everyone's opinion, that was something impossible. The reason why everyone followed him into the Asura battlefield was for the treasures and opportunities here. Right now, opportunities and treasures were right in front of them. As long as they could get their hands on them, they could tear the teleportation talismans and leave this place even if they encountered danger. None of them cared much about fighting for the seal. Be careful. When Xueqi saw that he could not stop the person, he could only remind. The skinny cultivator nodded and walked over slowly with the teleportation talisman in his left hand. Although he was indifferent to Su Zimo's warning, he did not dare to be careless. He was tense the entire way and released his spirit consciousness, watching and listening in all directions. He was prepared to crush the teleportation talisman in his hands at the slightest activity. In the blink of an eye, the skinny cultivator was already 100 feet away and did not encounter any danger. After a while, he finally arrived before the stone that emitted a green glow. The surroundings were still silent and there was nothing unusual. The skinny cultivator felt slightly better and heaved a sigh of relief. He glared at the stone before him and frowned slightly. The stone was in the shape of a camel and was uneven. There was some sparse green fur on it and it was not a green light. The skinny cultivator had never seen such a thing before and squatted down instinctively, wanting to take a closer look. Right then, a change happened. The ground split open and a rusty fork broke out of the ground, piercing the skinny cultivator's chest instantly. Immediately after, the camel-shaped stone charged out as well, revealing an ugly and terrifying face. Suddenly, it opened its bloody mouth and devoured the skinny cultivator's head. Everything had happened way too quickly. With a lost expression, the skinny cultivator's neck was snapped and fresh blood gushed out. Before his essence spirit could escape, his head was devoured by the ugly monster. With a few bites, the monster crushed the skinny cultivator's head. That person's essence spirit was destroyed and he was dead. The headless corpse knelt on the spot weakly and the palm of the skinny cultivator loosened gradually. Even till his death, he could not crush the teleportation talisman. Pest! Xueqi and the others were shocked when they saw that. They had never seen such an ugly living being. It had greenish-black skin and wielded an iron fork. Its head was in the shape of a camel and it had thin green fur. It had a menacing expression like a malevolent ghost. The monster glared at Xueqi and the others with bloodshot eyes. Creak! Creak! The monster was still chewing the skinny cultivator's head in its mouth, and the sound of its teeth snapping the latter's skull sounded extremely terrifying. Fresh blood flowed between its sharp fangs. Chapter 2497. 2497 Yaksha Race. 2497 Yaksha Race. Xueqi and the others felt their hairs stand on end from the monster's stare. This monster seemed to be even more terrifying than the Asura race. Although the Asura race was tall and burly like fiend celestials, they did not look so terrifying at the very least. The monster before them was like a malevolent ghost that appeared mysteriously and could even deceive everyone's senses. Su Zimo stared at the monster thoughtfully. For some unknown reason, when he saw that monster, the Rakshasa race appeared in his mind. Although the two of them looked different, they were ugly and terrifying with menacing expressions like malevolent ghosts. Furthermore, their methods were extremely violent and their combat strength was shocking. Even if the skinny cultivator was prepared, he would not have been able to defend against that attack earlier on. However, That monster looked extremely different from the Rakshasa race. Even the weakest Rakshasa had wings as sharp as scythes. However, the monster before him did not have wings. Yaksha! Xueqi exclaimed softly with a pale expression. So this is the Yaksha race. Su Zimo murmured softly in deep thought. Previously, when he heard Xueqi describe the Yaksha race, he felt a sense of déjà vu. Now that he saw the Yaksha race with his own eyes, the feeling was even more obvious. In reality, apart from their appearances, there was a huge difference between the weapons, methods and techniques used by the Yaksha and Rakshasa races. The connection between the Yaksha and Rakshasa races was merely a wild thought on Su Zimo's part without any basis. Furthermore, he knew too little about the Yaksha race. At the thought of the Rakshasa race, Su Zimo could not help but recall Rakshasa Yue of Tianhuang mainland. He heard that Rakshasa Yue had already ascended to the upper world and did not know how she was doing. Right then, the Yaksha had already chewed the skinny cultivator's skull. After swallowing it, it suddenly grinned at Xueqi and the others, revealing a row of grisly red teeth. Immediately after, the Yaksha vanished. This was not teleportation. The living beings in the Asura battlefield had died for many years. This Yaksha was controlled by the malevolent blood chi and could not release teleportation divine powers. However, it had indeed vanished. Just as Xueqi and the others were in a daze, Su Zimo's voice sounded. Watch out! Su Zimo stood beside Xueqi and his expression changed. Suddenly, he reached out and pulled Xueqi to the side. Almost at the same time, the ground beneath Xueqing's feet tore open and a rusted iron fork broke out of the ground, almost piercing past his body by a hair's breadth. If Su Zimo had been slightly slower, Xueqi would have been pierced from the bottom up by the iron fork. Even if he did not die, he would have been severely injured. Su Zimo saved Xueqi and strode forward without stopping. Gripping the incoming iron fork with his left hand, he stomped on the ground with his right foot. Boom! That stomp caused the ground to quake slightly. The sound of bones cracking could even be heard. Su Zimo gripped the iron fork in reverse and pulled it up. A figure was pulled out from the cracked mud beneath his feet. It was the Yaksha from earlier on. Although the Yaksha's hands were still gripping the iron fork tightly, its body was slumped on the ground and its head was ruptured. It could no longer fight. Xueqi and the others broke out in cold sweat when they saw that. This Yaksha was elusive and traveled underground without anyone noticing. What was even more frightening was that this Yaksha was not a living being. It was controlled by the malevolent blood chi and relied on an instinctive combat technique. Even so, it still had such powerful and terrifying killing methods. If it was a living Yaksha, what sort of existence would it be? Brother Su, thank you for saving my life. Xueqi expressed his thanks hurriedly with lingering fear. Let's hurry and leave this place. Su Zimo said in a deep voice. The commotion here should have alarmed some living beings on the battlefield. Indeed, before Su Zimo's sentence was finished, a series of furious roars sounded from the depths of the blood fog in the distance. Although he could not see their exact location, it was clear that other Asuras, powerful demon beasts and even Yakshas had awakened. The roars intensified, as though terrifying living beings such as the Asuras were everywhere. What should we do? Heaven Immortal Yu Ying and the others panicked. The enthusiasm everyone had when they first entered the Asura battlefield cooled down rapidly after seeing a few Heaven Immortal experts die one after another. Everyone merely wanted to join in and obtain some opportunities. However, none of them wanted to lose their lives. Prince Qingyun, we seem to have been surrounded. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying whispered. Should we tear the teleportation talismans and leave this place? It's not a big deal to get the seal. If we lose our lives because of this, the gains won't make up for the losses. Xueqi clenched his fists indignantly. Was he going to retreat the moment he entered? Right then, Su Zimo spoke. Those who want to stay, follow me closely. Try not to be too far away from me and don't go beyond a radius of 100 feet. With that said, Su Zimo took the first step forward. Xueqi was invigorated and hurried forward, walking shoulder to shoulder with Su Zimo. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying and the others exchanged glances. After a moment of hesitation, they braced themselves and followed. Indeed, Everyone felt embarrassed to leave now. Although they followed behind Su Zimo, everyone took out their teleportation talismans just in case. They gripped them in their palms, prepared to tear them at any moment and escape. Su Zimo was headed in the right direction. However, along the way, he would often deviate from his original trajectory. Occasionally, he would walk to the side and circle around once more, as though he was avoiding something. There was no pattern to speak of. It was as though Su Zimo was doing everything casually. Although everyone was puzzled, they did not dare to leave the group on their own. Another Yaksha had just appeared. This time round, the Yaksha suddenly broke through the blood fog and descended from the skies, lunging towards everyone. However, before the Yaksha could touch everyone's bodies, its head was pierced by the heaven-slaying sword Qi released by Su Zimo's fingertip and it died completely. This time round, everyone was still caught off guard. This Yaksha was different from the one earlier on. Although they were both menacing, this Yaksha had a pair of thin meat wings beneath its ribs that connected its arms and feet. Descending from the skies, it was like a gigantic bat. After such a change, everyone chose to follow closely behind Su Zimo. Nobody dared to go beyond 50 feet, let alone 100. Strangely enough, after half a day, the initially furious roars in the surroundings grew further and further away from everyone and gradually faded. Although they encountered some ambushes along the way, there were not many living beings that stopped them. There were only one or two. Furthermore, Su Zimo warned everyone in advance each time they were about to meet with danger. If everyone was prepared and joined forces, they would be able to kill the danger before long and continue forward. A day passed and everyone did not encounter any huge dangers along the way. There were no large-scale obstructions by many Asuras, demon beasts or Yakshas along the way. It was as though everyone had escaped unscathed from the encirclement of powerful living beings such as the Asura race under Su Zimo's lead. Chapter 2498. 2498 Gradually Emerging. 2498 Gradually Emerging. In the skies above the Asura battlefield, 6 figures stood in midair outside the blood-colored fog, emitting powerful auras as they looked down at the Asura battlefield. Divine Rainbow, Divine Swamp, Divine Wind, Divine Crane, Divine Cloud and Divine Flames. The 6 of them were none other than the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace's heaven-ranking prediction. The Divine Firmament Immortal Meet was a grand event that happened once every 100,000 years in the Divine Firmament Immortal domain. During this period of time, the most eye-catching segment was the competition and announcement of the heaven ranking. This was also the best opportunity for countless paragons and monster incarnates to make a name for themselves in the world. Prior to that, the heaven ranking prediction became extremely important. This was equivalent to turning the Divine Firmament Immortal domain into an invisible battlefield to select the 100 most outstanding heaven immortals in the entire immortal domain. Therefore, Divine Firmament Palace placed immense importance on the battle for the seal in the Asura battlefield as well. They sent 6 perfected immortals to evaluate the battle and update the ranking of the heaven ranking prediction in real time. Because the Asura battlefield was extremely vast, the 6 perfected immortals could not pay attention to every team. Therefore, the 6 of them divided the Asura battlefield into 6 regions and each of them was in charge of one of them. Once the 8 teams gathered in the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals would be able to pay attention to everyone. Perfected Immortal Divine Rainbow said, "To think that these corpses that have died for many years would be able to awaken and become undead experts after being corroded by this malevolent blood qi. I wonder what's the background of this malevolent blood qi?" Perfected Immortal Divine Swamp asked. The source is in the lake in the center of the ancient city. However, our spirit consciousnesses can't scan into it either. Perfected Immortal Divine Wind said deeply, "I'm guessing that it might be the corpse of an ancient demon beast." Suddenly, Divine Cloud said, "Under the encirclement of the Asuras, Yakshas and various demon beasts, the princes of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom suffered considerable losses." Indeed. Divine Flames nodded and said, "Although these teams have experts on the heaven ranking prediction at the front to fight their way out, for the past 2 days, the undead in the Asura battlefield have been endless. The other cultivators can't defend against them at all." Divine Wind and the others nodded as well. Only Fairy Divine Crane's eyes flashed with a strange glint without saying anything. After 2 days, The princes led their teams and arrived at the ancient city one after another after countless killing and escaping. Princess Yu Yan and Zhong Feiyu's group were the first to arrive at the ancient city. Although there was an expert like Zhong Feiyu who was rank 3 on the heaven ranking prediction, half of the 100-strong team were already gone by the time they arrived at the ancient city. Some of the cultivators died before they could tear their teleportation talismans apart. Some of the cultivators could not save themselves when they were in danger, and could only tear apart their talismans and leave the battlefield. Before long, rank 10 on the heaven ranking prediction, Prince Tian Huang, Prince Ming Jiong and Song Su's team, Prince Yan and Lai Xian's team as well as Prince Feng and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's team arrived one after another. Every single team was in an extremely sorry state. Even Prince Yan and Lai Xian's team who suffered the least losses lost close to 40 people. The other teams only had around 30 to 40 people left. The 7th team that arrived was Prince Xing Yan who nearly had a conflict with Su Zimo. His team looked even more miserable with only 14 people left. Although there were 2 experts on the heaven ranking prediction among the 100 heaven immortals he gathered, their rankings were not high and they could not protect too many people. Of the 9 teams, only 2 had yet to arrive at the ancient city. Right then, Fairy Divine Crane suddenly said, Prince Cheng Tian's team has already been eliminated. There were only 8 teams left in the Asura battlefield. The 6 perfected immortals were not surprised by this outcome. Although Prince Cheng Tian's team had 100 heaven immortals, he lacked true experts. There wasn't a single person on the heaven ranking prediction. It was not surprising that they could not break through the obstruction of the Asura race and the other undead monsters. Divine Cloud said, there's still a team that hasn't arrived. If I remember correctly, they should be on Divine Crane's side. It's Xueqi and Su Zimo's team. Divine Wind smiled. There's too few of them. I don't think they can even defend against the first wave of the undead on the battlefield. That's right. Even if Su Zimo is the only one left, it'll be difficult for him to survive alone. Divine Flame shook his head gently. That's not true. Fairy Divine Crane suddenly said, of the 9 teams, his is the one that suffered the least losses. Divine Cloud and the others were surprised. Take a look. Fairy Divine Crane pointed down at Xueqi, Su Zimo and the others who were about to arrive at the ancient city. The other 5 perfected immortals looked over and their expressions changed. What's going on? There's just one missing person? Everyone could clearly see that Xueqing's group had 18 people when they entered. Now that they were about to arrive at the ancient city, there were still 17 left. What was even stranger was that although the group of them were travel-worn, there were no wounds or blood on their bodies and they did not look wretched at all. What's going on? Divine Swamp was shocked and could not help but ask. By the looks of it, this group did not seem to have encountered a large-scale attack from the undead on the battlefield? Divine Cloud asked with a frown. Divine Flames analyzed, could it be that someone in this team knows some methods or treasures that can hide their auras from the undead? The 5 of them were observing the other teams in the other regions previously, and did not pay attention to the movements of Xueqi and Su Zimo. Since Fairy Divine Crane was in charge of observing them, she was the only one who could answer those questions. To be precise, they did not hide their auras. Fairy Divine Crane recalled her observations over the past 2 days and said in a deep voice, it feels more like someone sensed the aura of the undead beforehand and avoided danger. Under normal circumstances, without condensing a Dao fruit, the detection range of the spirit consciousness in the blood fog is limited. Who among them can penetrate the malevolent blood qi and sense the danger ahead? Divine Flames asked with a frown. It should be Su Zimo. Fairy Divine Crane said, for the past 2 days, I saw that his trajectory was irregular and he often took twists and turns. That's also the reason why they were the last team to arrive. Initially, I did not pay much attention. However, later on, I realized that each time the team detoured, they would avoid the powerful undead hidden in the blood fog ahead. When they heard that, the 5 perfected immortals shuddered and were shocked. They avoided danger even before they saw or heard anything. Could such a legendary ability truly exist? This battle for the seal has suddenly turned interesting. Perhaps the final outcome will exceed our expectations. Fairy Divine Crane suddenly smiled with a hint of anticipation in her beautiful eyes. Naturally, the 6 perfected immortals knew of Su Zimo's participation. However, no one paid attention at first. The difference in strength between rank 24 and the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction was way too great. They were not the only ones. The various factions and cultivators of the divine firmament immortal domain that were paying attention to this matter had also made their own guesses. Some people thought that Princess Yu Yan might have the greatest chance with Zhong Feiyu's help. Some people felt that Prince Tian Huang was strong to begin with since he was ranked 10 on the heaven ranking prediction. As such, he had the highest chance of having the last laugh. Some people even predicted that Prince Yan might win after obtaining Lai Xian's help. But now, 2 days after the battle for the seal, a variable seemed to have appeared on the battlefield. A grade 6 heaven immortal that was almost ignored by everyone gradually revealed his brilliance and sharpness in this cruel and bloody Asura battlefield. Chapter 2499. 2499 Mysterious Malevolent Blood Qi. 2499 Mysterious Malevolent Blood Qi. The ancient city in the center of the Asura battlefield. The ancient city was long dilapidated with only derelict walls left. However, there was still a mysterious power left in the ancient city that shocked the undead on the battlefield. Be it the Asuras, Yakshas or other demon beast races, all of them who were chasing the cultivators stopped in their tracks when they arrived here. They lingered for a moment before dispersing. In the ancient city, the teams managed to break free from the pursuit of the undead after much difficulty. After charging into the ancient city, they did not continue forward and rested around the city gate to recuperate. Some of them were severely injured, some of them had expended a lot of energy, and some of them had horrified expressions with lingering fear, as though they were shocked. Not only did the malevolent blood qi possess a strange sealing power, it could even invade the bodies of living beings and affect the Dao hearts of cultivators. If they did not recover as soon as possible and compose themselves, there was a high chance that they would be invaded by the malevolent blood qi and their Dao hearts would be tainted, causing them to enter qi deviation and lose their rationality. After the 2 days, the difference between them could be seen. Only a few experts in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction were not affected much when they arrived at the ancient city. Although the few of them had expended quite a bit of energy as well, they recovered quickly after eating some spirit pills and did not have to focus on recuperating. Qingyun isn't here yet. Xie Tianhuang had a relaxed expression as he chuckled. Could he have already left the Asura battlefield? Yu Hai said in a deep voice. There are only slightly more than 10 people in his group. It's difficult for them to break through the pursuit of the undead of the various races. He escaped yet another calamity. The number 1 heaven execution guard, Song Su, had a cold gaze and his tone carried a hint of regret. If I had known, I would have attacked him back in the Yenyang Palace and killed him first. What a pity. Zhong Feiyu pouted as well. At the same time, under Su Zimo's lead, Xie Qingqing and the others finally arrived at the ancient city and escaped from danger. Everyone exchanged glances and heaved a sigh of relief with joy. At the very least, they no longer had to be on tenterhooks after entering the ancient city. There aren't many awakened undead in the Asura battlefield. We encountered a couple of them along the way, but they were killed with ease. Yes, as long as fellow Taoist Su reminds us, we'll be prepared. There's nothing to fear. That's right. We were a little careless at the beginning, and were only scared after seeing a few people die before our very eyes. Heaven Immortal Yuing said, actually, the Asura battlefield isn't as savage as what the outside world claims. If we didn't take those detours, we could have arrived at the ancient city sooner. Perhaps the other teams have already entered the city. As he said that, Xie Qingqing and the others entered the ancient city. When Heaven Immortal Yuing saw the messy footsteps at the city gate, he shook his head. Indeed, I was right. We took too many detours and the other princes have already arrived here first. Su Zimo had an indifferent expression and remained silent. As Heaven Immortal Yuing spoke, everyone had already entered the ancient city and saw a group of cultivators healing on the spot near the city gate. Sensing the commotion, the cultivators opened their eyes and looked over as well. Both parties exchanged glances and were stunned on the spot, dumbfounded. The city gate fell into a long silence. How is that possible? A few princes and many cultivators were shocked and their eyes widened in disbelief. Xie Qingqing and the others had arrived here alive. What was even more amazing was that they were only missing one person. Furthermore, the remaining 17 cultivators, Xueqi included, were neatly dressed without any bloodstains on their bodies. Their breathings were steady and their faces were rosy. None of them looked like they had arrived here after experiencing countless life and death battles. As for Xueqi, Heaven Immortal Yue and the others, they were shocked when they saw the situation on the other end. They did not look like teams of Heaven Immortals. The group of people were scattered, either sitting or lying limply on the ground with dispirited expressions. At first glance, they looked like a group of wretched escapees covered in injuries. What was even more frightening was that the Heaven Immortal experts under the lead of the princes opposite them suffered immense losses and their numbers were halved. For example, Prince Qingyan's team had lost so many Heaven Immortals that their team had even less people than Prince Qingqing's team now. What did they experience? Did we miss something? Countless questions flashed through the minds of Heaven Immortal Yue and the others. Su Zimo was not surprised by this. He turned to look at Heaven Immortal Yue and patted him on the shoulder, saying earnestly, "From your tone earlier on, you must be upset that I've taken us too far off course. If you're interested, why don't you take a walk outside yourself?" Heaven Immortal Yue shuddered and shook his head hurriedly, smiling embarrassedly. "And no, I'm not interested." No matter how slow everyone was, they gradually understood. If Su Zimo had not led the way, what they had experienced would not have been so simple. When they saw the tragic state of the cultivators opposite them, everyone had no doubt that they might not even be able to see the shadow of the ancient city if they advanced normally. Xueqi did not say much and looked at Su Zimo gratefully. Unlike the other cultivators, Zhongfeiyu, Song Su and the other experts who were on the top 10 of the Heaven ranking prediction were initially surprised at the appearance of Su Zimo and the others. Immediately after, a look of joy flashed through their eyes. It was the joy of regaining something that was lost. However, none of them attacked immediately. Since Su Zimo had already entered the city, there was no need to rush. Furthermore, it was clear that there was more than one person interested in Su Zimo. All of them were wary and had to look for a suitable opportunity. Although Su Zimo did not look at Zhongfeiyu and the others, he could still sense their hostility. He was unmoved. What would come would eventually come. "Let's check out the ancient city," Su Zimo suggested. Their group was different from the other Heaven Immortals and Immortals. They were not injured and were in no hurry to rest and recuperate. At that moment, everyone was already convinced by Su Zimo. Even Heaven Immortal Yue nodded in agreement right away. Xueqi and more than 10 other cultivators entered the depths of the ancient city and disappeared under the complicated gazes of many cultivators. "Brother Su, you seem to have something on your mind along the way?" Xueqi noticed that Su Zimo would often be in deep thought after entering the Asura battlefield. Su Zimo did not reply immediately. Along the way, apart from using his spirit perception to lead everyone to avoid danger in advance, he was also secretly channeling a few divine powers and secret skills. After a few attempts, he discovered something strange. The malevolent blood chi could indeed seal the six-tusked divine strength. Even his rock wings would be sealed and could not be activated. However, during this period of time, he tried to activate the secret skills of the Hell Suppression Tripod, the True Dragon 9 Flashes, Heavenly Perfected Water and Southern Mingli Fire. Yet they were not sealed. Logically speaking, those three secret skills were related to demon beasts as well. However, the malevolent blood chi did not have much of a reaction to them. What made Su Zimo feel even stranger was that his initial discomfort had gradually disappeared under the encirclement of the malevolent blood chi. Not only that, the malevolent blood chi seemed to be nourishing his flesh. Chapter 2500 2500 Fourth Secret Skill. 2500 Fourth Secret Skill. Of course, that feeling was not obvious and was almost undetectable. Su Zimo was not certain either. This change did not seem like it was caused by the Green Lotus True Body itself. If he encountered energy that could be devoured, such as immortal herbs and spirit wood, the Green Lotus True Body would have a relatively obvious reaction. However, on the Asura battlefield, the Green Lotus True Body was extremely quiet. The malevolent blood chi could seal the six-tusked divine elephant and rock wings. However, it could not seal the True Dragon 9 Flashes, Heavenly Perfected Water and Southern Mingli Fire. The reason could naturally be because the 3 secret skills were inherited from the Hell Suppression Tripod. However, there was another explanation possible. The 3 secret skills came from the 3 sacred beasts. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat and his eyes lit up. Suddenly, he thought of a possibility. The malevolent blood chi might have something to do with the sacred beast, the white tiger. That was the only way the malevolent blood chi could seal the power of most demon beasts as well. Legend has it that the 4 sacred beasts were the progenitors of the dragon, phoenix, tiger and turtle races. Born in chaos, they ruled over all other living beings. In terms of bloodline, sacred beasts surpassed even taboos. Back on the Dragon Abyss Star, when the Azure Dragon's sacred soul on the Hell Suppression Tripod awakened, the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit part of Su Zimo's essence spirit felt suppressed. It was clear how terrifying the 4 sacred beasts were. If the malevolent blood chi in the Asura battlefield came from the sacred beast, the white tiger, many things could be explained. The white tiger was located in the west and specialized in killing, possessing a malevolent aura. The malevolent aura contained killing, berserk and violent emotions. If a cultivator's Tao heart was unstable, they would naturally be invaded by the malevolent aura and lose their minds. As for the Asuras, Yakshas and various demon beasts that died on the battlefield, they were also controlled by the malevolent aura and only knew how to kill. That was the reason why they attacked Su Zimo and the others wildly. There was something more important. The reason why his flesh could absorb the malevolent blood chi of the battlefield was not because of the Green Lotus true body. There was a high chance that it was because of the secret skill on the 4th tripod wall of the Hell Suppression Tripod. That secret skill was inherited from the White Tiger Sacred Soul. After the Hell Suppression Tripod was repaired, Su Zimo had already obtained the inheritance of this secret skill. However, all these years, he had no idea how to cultivate it. In reality, it was difficult for humans to cultivate the secret skills of the Hell Suppression Tripod and the 4 Sacred Souls. The reason why Su Zimo did not encounter many obstacles cultivating the first 3 secret skills was mainly because he had obtained many inheritances of the 3 races. He had once condensed the Dragon Phoenix true body. Therefore, it was only logical for him to cultivate the true Dragon 9 Flashes and Southern Mingli Fire. As for heavenly perfected water from the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul, he had also obtained the innate divine power inheritance of the Spirit Turtle Shield from the mystic classic of the 12 Demon Kings of the Great Wilderness. Therefore it was not difficult to cultivate. However, the 4th secret skill came from the White Tiger Sacred Soul. Up till this point of his cultivation, he had not cultivated any cultivation technique or secret skill of the tiger race, let alone the white tiger. Therefore, he could not cultivate the 4th inheritance secret skill successfully for a long time. He had even thought that if his brother from the lower worlds, the spirit tiger, was by his side, it might be of some help to him. However, Monkey, the spirit tiger, Little Fox and the others had ascended for many years and would definitely not land in the heavenly world. Naturally, they could not be contacted either. Brother Su. At the side, Xueqi called out once more in a testing manner when he saw that Su Zimo was still silent. Ah! Su Zimo snapped out of his stupor and smiled apologetically. It's nothing much. After pondering for a moment, Su Zimo said, there's still more than 20 days to the final fight for the seal. Anything can happen during this period of time. Xueqi could clearly tell that Su Zimo was implying something. Su Zimo said, if anything happens to me during this period of time, don't worry. Don't give up until the last moment. The matter of the malevolent blood chi was only his own speculation and he was not certain. Therefore, he did not explain things to Xueqi. All right. Xueqi did not ask further. Instead, he took a deep breath and agreed. The group of them continued along the streets of the ancient city, and the surrounding structures were already dilapidated. However, from the outline of the buildings, it was not hard to guess that human cultivators like them lived in this ancient city back then. After walking for a while more, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he sensed a faint essence chi fluctuation. He glanced sideways at a residence not far away on the street. The residence looked relatively intact. Let's take a look over there. Su Zimo pointed and headed towards the residence with Xueqi. When they approached, Su Zimo did not hesitate and pushed the door open. Unable to withstand the external force, the door collapsed and dust billowed. Everyone casually released a few cleansing techniques and purged the surrounding dust. How about settling down here? Xueqi surveyed his surroundings. The residence was not small and there were more than 10 houses around it for everyone to settle down and rest. Su Zimo nodded without any objections. He followed the slight essence chi fluctuation and arrived before a room, pushing the door open gently. The room was not big and there were some tables, chairs, beds, kitchen utensils, and a single glance was enough to see everything. Su Zimo's gaze shifted and landed on the wall beside him. It was covered with a thick layer of dust and spiderweb. Through it, one could vaguely see some marks on the wall. The essence chi fluctuation came from this wall. Waving his robes, Su Zimo removed the dust and spiderweb on the wall and focused his gaze. There were diagrams etched on the walls, as though they were depicting a massive battle that happened here in the past. However, those diagrams could no longer be seen clearly after the sands of time. He could only roughly distinguish some living beings with obvious characteristics. It was as though there was an Asura within that looked indomitable. His head was already above the clouds as he looked down at the ground with a sinister gaze. Su Zimo counted. The Asura had 8 arms. According to Heavenly Wolf, only Emperor Realm Asuras had 8 arms. Even after so many years, Su Zimo could still sense how terrifying and powerful the Asura was through the incomplete and dilapidated diagrams. His 8 arms wielded different weapons, his martial arts moved the universe, and his fiend might was unparalleled. Apart from the Asura race, Su Zimo also caught sight of the Yaksha race. The diagrams revealed the 2 different types of Yakshas they encountered on the battlefield as well. Beside the Yaksha race, there was a line of small words. According to the description, the Yaksha race had a total of 3 major lineages. The first Yaksha that Su Zimo and the others encountered that appeared from underground was an earth Yaksha. Later on, the Yaksha that flew down from the skies like a gigantic bat was a heavenly Yaksha. There was another type that lived in rivers, lakes, and oceans. Those were the water Yakshas. Apart from the 3 Yaksha lineages, there was an even stronger Yaksha known as the Void Yakshas, and it was said that they were extremely rare. Chapter 2501. 2501 Bird in a Cage. 2501 Bird in a Cage. Yaksha was a Sanskrit word. The translation of it mentioned that they were extremely agile, could bite ghosts, and had unfathomable movements. The diagrams on the wall had long turned blurry. Su Zimo took a closer look but could not find any clues about the malevolent blood chi. According to Xialing, there was a lake in the center of the ancient city where the malevolent blood chi was condensed. That was the source. Su Zimo left the place and headed to the center of the ancient city to check things out. You guys rest here. I'll go out for a walk. Su Zimo informed Xueqi. All right. Xueqi nodded. After arriving at the ancient city, there was no danger for the time being without the pursuit of the Asura race and the other undead. Su Zimo left the residence and headed towards the center of the ancient city. As he ventured deeper, the malevolent blood chi in the surroundings intensified and turned richer. The radius that his eyesight and spirit consciousness could detect was shrinking continuously. Relying on his spirit perception, Su Zimo was fearless and sped forward in huge strides. About an hour later, he gradually slowed down. Suddenly, Su Zimo leaped up and stood in midair. Looking down, he could see a gigantic lake not far ahead. An endless malevolent blood chi was spreading out from the lake. In the middle of the lake, a small lone island could vaguely be seen through the blood fog. If he was not wrong, the spirit cloud seal was on it. Su Zimo descended once more and arrived at the edge of the lake. Gathering his vision, he looked into the lake. The lake was dark with a strange blood glint. He could not see anything and did not know what was in the lake. Su Zimo took out a useless heaven-grade dermic treasure from his storage bag and channeled his spirit consciousness to control it to speed towards the front of the lake. The moment the heaven-grade dermic treasure entered the range of the lake, a few streams of malevolent blood chi gathered, as though they had formed a gigantic beast head that emitted a violent and terrifying aura. Even Su Zimo, who was standing at the edge of the lake, could sense it clearly. He was extremely decisive and severed his spirit consciousness connection to the heaven-grade dermic treasure. The beast head opened its bloody mouth and devoured the heaven-grade dermic treasure instantly. Immediately after, the beast head glanced sideways in the direction where Su Zimo was standing. Its gaze was cold and filled with endless killing intent. That single glance sent chills down Su Zimo's spine. If he had not severed his spirit consciousness from the heaven-grade dermic treasure, the beast head might have even chased after him. It seemed like Xialing was right. It was impossible to cross the lake. At the very least, given his current cultivation, he could not defend against the devouring of the malevolent blood qi at all. Above the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace noticed the commotion as well. Divine Swamp smiled gently. Su Zimo is rather cautious and reacts quickly. It was no wonder why he was able to avoid Zhu Wuying's assassination attempt. Fairy Divine Crane suddenly frowned. He's in trouble. She was not the only one. The other 5 perfected immortals had already noticed that 6 figures were splitting into different directions in the blood fog and advancing towards Su Zimo's location, getting closer and closer. I can understand why Song Su and Zhong Feiyu want to deal with Su Zimo. After all, this lad has a deep feud with the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect's Zither Immortal. Perfected Immortal Divine Rainbow frowned. However, Lai Xian, Xie Tianhuang, Yu Hai and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang don't seem to have any grudges with this lad, right? Divine Flames chuckled. Don't forget, that lad has the Pure Jade manual with him. Even I'm tempted, let alone the 4 of them. However, it's not convenient for me to attack because of my status. If Su Zimo's Pure Jade manual was snatched away in a fight of the same cultivation realm, it would be because he was not skilled enough and he could not blame anyone. However, as perfected immortals, if they attacked Su Zimo, it would be bullying the young. Divine Firmament Palace could not afford to lose face like this. 6 of the top 10 on the Heaven ranking prediction are ganging up on Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy. That lad's going to be eliminated real soon. Divine Cloud crossed his arms and looked like he was watching a show. Divine Rainbow pouted as well. By the looks of it, even if it was Yun Ting or Qin Gu, it would be difficult for them to escape unscathed. Su Zimo looked at the lake before him thoughtfully and hesitated. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat as he narrowed his gaze and turned around slowly. He looked into the depths of the blood fog before him and said, "Since you guys are already here, show yourself." Piak, piak, piak. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang was the first to walk out. He clapped and looked at Su Zimo meaningfully. "Su Zimo, I didn't expect to see you here again after parting at the Dragon Abyss Star." From another part of the blood fog, Yu Hai walked out as well and praised, "What sharp senses. To think that I couldn't hide from you." Immediately after, Song Su appeared with an execution saber in his hands. He was filled with a murderous aura as he glared at Su Zimo, ready to kill at any moment. My, what a crowd! The red-headed Xie Tianhuang appeared slowly with a cynical smile on his face as well. A blazing light tore through the blood fog and Lai Xian walked over slowly. Su Zimo looked at the 5 Heaven Immortals who were on the top 10 of the Heaven ranking prediction with a calm expression, not surprised at all. "Su Zimo, do you have any last words?" Song Su asked coldly. Su Zimo did not reply and looked into the depths of the blood fog on the other side. "Zhong Feiyu, how long are you prepared to stay inside?" "Interesting." After a moment of silence, a chuckle sounded from the blood fog. Zhong Feiyu looked at Su Zimo and revealed himself slowly, saying in surprise, "You actually discovered my tracks." When he saw that everyone was already present, Su Zimo asked calmly, "How? Are you guys prepared to attack together?" Yu Hai was the first to take a step back and spread his hands. "I'm just here to join the crowd. You guys can go ahead." Indeed, he was tempted by the Pure Jade manual. However, there were 5 people ranked above him and the situation was chaotic. He did not want to get involved for the time being. Only, the positions of the 6 of them were rather particular and formed a semi-encirclement formation, sealing all of Su Zimo's escape routes. Although Yu Hai expressed that he would not interfere, his position still blocked one of Su Zimo's escape routes. If Su Zimo chose to escape in his direction, it would be sending himself to his door and Yu Hai could only accept it with a smile. In the eyes of the 6 of them, Su Zimo was already a bird in a cage. Song Su spoke, "The Pure Jade manual is with this person. However, I think we should kill him first before deciding who it should bellow. Before Song Su could finish, his expression changed. Su Zimo's figure had already vanished from the spot. A chilling killing intent enveloped him instantly. When Su Zimo reappeared, he was already behind Song Su. Without hesitation, he reached out and slapped Song Su on the head. Song Su was from the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom, and the two of them were irreconcilable to begin with. He had no intention of letting Song Su off since the latter wanted to kill him. That move had indeed exceeded everyone's expectations. Nobody expected Su Zimo to not escape right away despite being surrounded by the six of them and even dare to attack them first. Chapter 2502. 25021 against 5. 25021 against 5. Although he was unprepared, Song Su's reaction was extremely fast after countless life and death experiences. He did not turn around since it would be too late. Su Zimo's attacks were ferocious and extremely fast. At this level, any mistake could cause one to be severely injured. Song Su's back was facing Su Zimo. In a flash, he executed the execution steps and a saber appeared beneath his feet. The execution steps was not only a movement technique, but also a means of retaliation. Under the attacks of Su Zimo's Great Chaos Essence Palm, many sabers tore a gap and Song Su passed through it, dodging to the side. That reaction had indeed displayed Song Su's immense strength. None of the experts who could be on the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction were easy to deal with. It was especially so for someone like Song Su. To be able to establish himself as the number one of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom's execution guards, he had stepped on countless corpses of his peers and was stained with blood. Song Su's counterattack did not stop. After dodging Su Zimo's Great Chaos Essence Palm, Song Su suddenly opened his mouth and released an ear-piercing sound domain secret skill that sounded like metal clashing. As he used his sound domain secret skill to counterattack, Song Su withdrew his execution saber and slashed towards Su Zimo, who was behind him. At the same time, Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian, Xie Tianhuang and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang were prepared to attack. If Su Zimo was killed by Song Su alone, they would have no reason to snatch the Pure Jade Manual and split the other treasures on Su Zimo. Everyone wanted a share of the loot. Roar! The moment Song Su released his sound domain secret skill, Su Zimo released his Dragon Roar secret skill as well, and a deafening roar sounded from the depths of his throat. The Dragon Roar secret skill was synthesized with many sound domain secret skills and was created with the Azure Dragon Roar as the foundation. Even the malevolent blood chi of this place could not suppress it. The Dragon Roar sounded and suppressed Song Su's sound domain secret skill instantly. When Zhong Feiyu and the other three sensed the terrifying power contained in the Dragon Roar secret skill, their expressions changed slightly and they did not dare to be careless. Although Xie Tianhuang knew a heavenly phoenix roar as well, he was suppressed by the malevolent blood chi of the Asura battlefield and could not release it. He could only retreat and temporarily escape the range of the Dragon Roar secret skill. As for Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, none of them retreated. They released their sound domain secret skills and counterattacked. Up till this point of his cultivation of the Dragon Roar secret skill, Su Zimo had almost always been successful in fights against his peers. At close range, cultivators with weak bodies would be shocked to death on the spot. Even if one's physique and bloodline were extraordinary, they would suffer a huge blow and be distracted, allowing him to seize the initiative and control the situation. But now that he was on the Asura battlefield and could not release the six-tusk divine strength, Su Zimo's strength was far from its peak. The power of the Dragon Roar secret skill decreased significantly as well. Furthermore, Song Su specialized in melee combat and had a strong physique and bloodline. Coupled with the support of Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, the Dragon Roar secret skill was useless after it was released. The few sound domain secret skills clashed in midair and dissipated before long. These few people who were on the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction were more troublesome to deal with than he had imagined. Humph! Su Zimo's expression was unchanged. Suddenly, his figure flashed and he vanished once more. Swoosh! Song Su's backhand slash came to nothing. Suddenly, beside him, Su Zimo appeared once more. He closed two fingers and formed a finger sword. His fingertip emitted a sharp aura as he tapped towards the back of Song Su's head. Clang! Song Su did not turn back. Twisting his body, the execution saber suddenly extended from beneath his ribs and arrived instantly, colliding with Su Zimo's finger sword with a crisp sound. Both of them shuddered slightly. At the same time, Su Zimo released 3 heads 6 arms. His 6 palms conjured hand seals repeatedly and channeled his spirit consciousness, releasing 4 supreme divine powers in the direction of Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang. Ground prison painting. Suddenly, a gigantic cage burst forth from beneath Zhong Feiyu's feet and engulfed him instantly. Fleeting moment. The supreme divine power descended instantly and slashed towards Lai Xian. Killing word art. A third supreme divine power burst forth and charged towards Heaven Immortal Luo Yang. Paramitha Bridge. A golden bridge extended beneath Su Zimo's feet and tore through the air, charging towards Xie Tianhuang. The requirement of releasing 4 supreme divine powers in succession was extremely high for the essence spirit. If the essence spirit was not condensed enough, there was a high chance it would collapse on the spot. The moment Su Zimo attacked, it was 1 against 5. Although it was difficult for the 4 supreme divine powers to kill Zhong Feiyu and the other 3, they could delay them for a moment. That split moment he gained allowed him a one-on-one fight with Song Su. It was clear that Song Su realized this as well. How dare you? He was fearless and his gaze intensified. Steadying himself, he conjured hand seals with his left hand and channeled his essence spirit, releasing a supreme divine power. Dismemberment. The Great Jin Immortal Kingdom had 10 great divine powers for execution. Every single one of them was extremely powerful and vicious. Typically, only cultivators with the bloodline of the royal family, or who had contributed immensely to the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom could cultivate them. Dismemberment was one of them. The fact that Song Su was able to cultivate this divine power was proof that his status in the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom was indeed not low. The divine power circled around Su Zimo endlessly. The reason why that supreme divine power was powerful was because not only did it contain killing power, it also contained the power of restraint. Instantly, shackles appeared on Su Zimo's neck, wrist and ankle, locking him tightly. At the same time, the shackles were connected to 5 thick chains. The other end of the chains wrapped around 5 divine steeds and exerted strength at the same time, sprinting in 5 directions. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly. Indeed, a tearing sensation came from the joints of the Green Lotus True Body's limbs. Although it was not strong, it still made his heart skip a beat. Song Su did not pause after releasing dismemberment. He raised his saber and advanced, slashing down at Su Zimo's head. Swoosh! A sinister and cold saber intent enveloped down. It was as though Su Zimo was in a torture hell. Countless little ghosts lingered around him, holding various torture devices in their hands. They were laughing sinisterly at him, prepared to punish him at any moment. Rank 5 on the heaven ranking prediction, Song Su counterattacked with such ferocity. Suddenly, a resplendent starry sky appeared above Su Zimo's head. Millions of starlight fell and surged into his body, causing his strength to increase exponentially. The mystic spirit Big Dipper diagram descended and broke through Song Su's execution saber intent instantly. At the same time, Su Zimo made use of the power of the stars to break free from the restraints of dismemberment. In a flash, he made use of the True Dragon 9 flashes and reappeared beside Song Su, seizing the initiative. Song Su was long prepared and slashed in reverse. This time round, after Su Zimo's figure appeared, he did not stop. In a flash, he disappeared and reappeared on the other side of Song Su. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo changed 4 positions in succession. Song Su could not handle it and could not determine Su Zimo's landing spot. Because of that, Su Zimo finally found an opening. Chapter 2503. 2503 Dragon Snake Joint Attack. 2503 Dragon Snake Joint Attack. Su Zimo conjured sword arts with both hands and his gaze was cold. A chilling killing intent burst forth from him and surged into the clouds. When the heaven's killing intent is released, the stars are shifted out of alignment. When the earth's killing intent is released, the dragon snake shall rise. Heaven slaying in his left hand and earth slaying in his right. Su Zimo wielded 2 sword arts and was prepared to kill Song Su on the spot. That killing intent was way too strong. As the #1 heaven execution guard, Song Su was in charge of punishment and killing. He carried a steely killing intent and could not withstand it. Millions of heaven-slaying sword chi formed a heaven-slaying sword in Su Zimo's left hand and slashed down. At the same time, the skies changed and the ground shook. Above Song Su's head, a divine dragon condensed from the earth-slaying sword chi appeared faintly. Behind him, a soaring serpent broke out of the ground. The dragon and snake attacked together, forming a heaven and earth killing combination. The earth-slaying sword chi was the epitome of killing. The malevolent blood chi in the surroundings contained an extreme killing intent as well. The two were extremely similar and therefore the earth-slaying sword chi was not suppressed much. That was the reason why Su Zimo was able to condense the dragon-snake sword chi. Song Su's expression changed a few times as a storm brewed in his heart. He was actually forced to such a state in their fight. He naturally knew that as long as he could withstand Su Zimo's attack, he could avoid danger. On the other side, Zhong Feiyu and the others were about to break free as well. However, it was difficult for him to guarantee that he could escape unscathed against the combined attacks of the heaven and earth slaying sword arts. Splash! In the face of this crisis, Song Su channeled his bloodline to its limits and the sound of a tsunami surged in his body. A gigantic execution saber appeared behind him. Bloodline phenomenon. The execution saber slashed towards the heaven-slaying sword in Su Zimo's left hand. Boom! The saber and sword collided with a deafening bang. Song Su's bloodline phenomenon shook violently and almost collapsed. As for the heaven-slaying sword, it was shattered into pieces, turning into streams of essence chi that scattered into the void. At the same time, the combined attack of the dragon snake descended. Song Su ignored the soaring serpent that burst out from the ground beneath his feet and slashed in reverse towards the divine dragon in midair. Clang! The saber stood on the divine dragon's head and both parties shuddered, stopping as though time and space had frozen. Immediately after, countless dragon scales fell off from the divine dragon's body and the divine dragon of the earth-slaying sword chi dissipated on the spot. At that moment, Song Su no longer had the time to defend against the sword chi soaring serpent behind him. He could only release his essence chi and surge it into the execution armor on his body, creating patterns. The soaring serpent struck his back heavily. Song Su shuddered as though he was struck by lightning and spat out an arrow of blood. The light of the execution armor he was wearing dimmed rapidly. Although the execution armor was reduced to scrap metal, it helped him defend against most of the damage from the earth-slaying sword chi. He could recover from his current injuries within a few breaths. Although a gigantic spear pierced Su Zimo's head, no blood appeared. That head was one of the heads condensed from 3 heads 6 arms. Even if it shattered, it would not affect him much. Yu Hai, who had been watching from the side, finally attacked. His timing was rather particular. When Song Su was in danger, he did not help Song Su resolve the crisis or block the damage. After all, for him, even if Song Su was killed by Su Zimo, it would be equivalent to one less competitor. Yu Hai attacked and charged towards Su Zimo. At that time, Su Zimo wielded the heaven and earth slaying sword chi. Although he sensed Yu Hai's activity, he had no time to be distracted and ignored it. He wanted to deal with Yu Hai after killing Song Su. To think that Song Su had many trump cards as well and could survive the combined attack of his heaven and earth slaying sword chi. What a pity! Su Zimo lamented internally. If he could release the 6-tusk divine strength or cultivate to become a grade 7 heaven immortal, his combat strength would double or even more. Naturally, the situation earlier on would have been different. Boom! On the other side, Zhong Feiyu broke through the divine power of ground prison painting and sped over. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang and Xie Tian Huang charged over at almost the same time. The killing word art and Paramitha bridge alone posed no threat to the two of them, although they were supreme divine powers. The only one who encountered trouble was Lai Xian. The fleeting moment was released, the experience he gained from countless life and death battles reminded him that this supreme divine power was extremely dangerous. Lai Xian did not dare to be careless and released 2 supreme divine powers in succession. However, the sense of danger did not dissipate. Instead, it intensified. On the battlefield, amidst the earth-shaking clash, he could even keenly capture a strange sound of drums beating. This is bad. Suddenly, Lai Xian recalled the evaluation of Su Zimo on the heaven ranking prediction. It had once said that Su Zimo specialized in a supreme divine power that reduced one's lifespan and was extremely powerful. Lai Xian did not have time to think and channeled his bloodline to its limits, releasing his bloodline phenomenon. Behind him, blazing suns appeared above his surging blood qi, emitting a bedazzling glow and spewing scorching flames. In the blink of an eye, 7 blazing suns appeared. The sense of danger still did not dissipate. A decisive look flashed through the eyes of the flames as he raised his bloodline once more. Phew! Within the bloodline phenomenon, 2 more blazing suns appeared after the 7 blazing suns. 9 blazing suns descended and illuminated the world. Rising 9 suns. The top cultivation technique of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom, the Great Sun Sutra, was something that only the royal family could cultivate. Legend has it that rising 9 suns was the peak of the cultivation of the Great Sun Sutra. Prior to this, when Lai Xian fought with others, he had only summoned 8 blazing suns at most. But now, Su Zimo's casual divine power had almost forced out his strongest trump card. The sense of danger in his heart finally dissipated after he released rising 9 suns. Before the divine power of fleeting moment could descend on Lai Xian, it was burned into essence qi by the 9 blazing suns behind him and dissipated into the world. Lai Xian stood on the spot, his breathing erratic and a sense of trepidation. If not for his swift reaction, he did not know what terrifying consequences would have happened. Lai Xian composed himself slowly and did not rush forward to kill Su Zimo right away. This guy is only rank 24 on the heaven ranking prediction given his combat strength? What kind of a joke is that? Suddenly, Lai Xian was enraged. Such methods could even be ranked in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction. At the same time, Lai Xian thought again. Right now, Su Zimo was only a grade 6 heaven immortal. If he could already release such methods, what would happen if he cultivated to become a grade 9 heaven immortal? It's time for you to die. Zhong Feiyu was the first to arrive. Before he even made a move, a sword beam had already appeared. It disappeared in a flash. Su Zimo did not have time to react and merely dodged instinctively with his spirit perception. One of Su Zimo's heads was pierced as well as 2 arms. At this point of the battle, his 3 heads 6 arms was almost completely useless. The secret skills of Xie Tianhuang and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang descended. Yu Hai and Song Su gathered momentum while Lai Xian walked over with rising 9 suns. The 6 experts were regrouped. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.